All right, good evening. I'm going to begin our meeting, March 2nd, 2010, Board of Supervisors, with the salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the Falls Township Governmental Access Channel.
Hey, thank you.
And 40.
Mrs. Pullen, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Safka?
Here.
Mrs. Wisniewski? Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dent?
Here.
Mr. Snipes?
Here. All right, we have a good crowd this evening for a good reason. This country, as I'm sure we all know, was built on people who volunteered to do different things, from standing up to the British in 1775 all the way through to helping out people in 9/11, Katrina, and all kinds of other events, and still continuing in places like Haiti today. Today we have a chance to do something we very well may never get a chance to do again, quite frankly, which is to acknowledge 50 years of service by one of our own community members to one of our firefighting companies here in Falls Township. Peter Corradetti has served for 50 years as an active member of the Levittown Fire Company. And he is here this evening, as are a lot of the members of his company and his family. And it's our great honor to award him this evening a proclamation honoring him for the service that he's shown to this township. Township of Falls, a proclamation. Acknowledgement of Peter Corradetti, March 2010. Whereas the Township of Falls is a second-class township located in the County of Bucks in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and whereas the Township of Falls is responsible for providing for the needs and safety of its residents, and whereas the Township of Falls recognizes and supports the invaluable service provided by its volunteer fire companies, and whereas it is the desire of the Township of Falls to recognize those among its citizens who show extraordinary dedication to the people of the Township of Falls, whose lives serve as an example to the rest of our community of the best we have to offer each other. And whereas Peter Corradetti has for 50 years served as an active member of the Levittown Fire Company, number one. And whereas Peter Corradetti, through his long and selfless efforts, has helped protect the people and property of the Township of Falls and has served as an inspiration not only to his family, friends, fellow firefighters, and neighbors, but to us all. Therefore, now, the Board of Supervisors of the Township of Falls does hereby issue this proclamation honoring the 50 years of volunteerism and selfless service of Peter Corradetti to the people of the Township of Falls, the County of Bucks, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so, Mr. Corradetti, we're going to come down and present this to you, and thank you very much for your service.
$48 grand.
Eleanor Roosevelt. All right. We're going to continue with our meeting. Again, it's inspirational to have someone serve so long in that capacity, and talking to some of the other fire chiefs from the other companies and our fire marshal. They really don't know of anybody. There's a few people who are hitting 30 years of service in some of these companies, but it's not really clear if we'll ever have somebody put in 50 years of service. I mean, it's 50 years is a long time, so it was an honor to do that here this evening. All right, the first agenda item we have is a waiver of land development for Samax Enterprises, New Ford Mill Road. Mr. Gray?
Yes, as mentioned, this is a waiver of land development, Samex Enterprises, 1001 New Ford Mill Road, tax map parcel 13-51-1-1. Tonight representing the applicant is Kim Friedmuth.
Freemuth, yes.
Freemuth.
Thank you. Yes, we're here seeking a waiver of land development for the construction of an external covered containment area, concrete apron, and handicap parking spaces. We did appear before the Planning Commission on February 18th and received a recommendation of conditional approval, as well as a recommendation for 8 waivers that we are seeking. Actually, maybe 9. 9 waivers. We do have a review letter from Mr. Sullivan's office dated February 12th, and we, since the Planning Commission, have received a review letter from Traffic Planning and Design, and we also received a letter from the Fire Marshal dated January 27th. We're willing to comply with all of those letters, and if you'd like me to go through the waivers, I'd be happy to, or answer any of your questions.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind, is that the newest resolution? Is that this? Okay. All right. There was a resolution. Basically, the new resolution incorporates a lot of the traffic planning and design comments, the traffic concerns. If you want to have a chance to look at that, perhaps while you're looking at that, Mrs. Freeman, Mr. Kashner or somebody could just give us an idea of what exactly what Cemex is. I know it's a new company to Falls Township. Most people have never heard of it, and just what exactly this addition is going to be used for.
Samex is basically going to be a chemical. I don't know the full extent of what they're going to do.
Okay.
But we're in before the board basically for to add 6 handicap parking spaces, because the site's the old National Can site, which they didn't need handicap spaces back then.
Right.
A containment area that has a canopy over it, and then basically just a back in for trucks to unload chemicals into this area, and that's about it.
Okay. How big is the building itself, the overall building, not the addition, but just roughly?
Well, there is no addition on the building.
No, I mean, in terms of what you're doing, how large is the actual site or the actual building itself?
The existing building?
Yes.
It was 178,000.
Okay.
It was the old National Can.
All right.
The containment area is about 4,000 square feet.
Okay. Okay.
I can tell you a little bit about Samex.
Sure, that's fine.
They are going to be mixing, packaging, and storing paint remover, solvents, and other products at the building. The majority of the building will be used for packaging, office, and storage space. A 2,500 square foot portion will be used for mixing purposes, and that's going to be in an enclosed area.
Okay.
So I wasn't fully listening to Phil. I'm sorry, I was reading this, but
That's, okay, that's fine. That's fine. You added, you complimented what he said nicely. All right, in terms of, I guess maybe you've mentioned already that you're going to comply with all the will comply items in here, but you are asking for some waivers. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of touching on those.
sure. The first waiver is from section 191-18.1L of the subdivision and land development ordinance. This is to be treated as a waiver of land development application despite the fact that we don't meet the specific requirements, but due to the nature of the improvements, we're requesting to be treated as a waiver. The next waiver is from section 191-37B, which requires curbing to be installed for all parking facilities. There's no curbing proposed around the parking area as it's an existing parking area. The next waiver is 191-37C. This section requires 10 by 20 parking stalls and 25-foot drive aisles. The existing parking stalls are 10 by 18 and the drive aisles are 24 feet, so we're requesting a waiver to allow those to remain. The next section is 191-37G1, which requires planting beds to be installed every 20 spaces within the parking lot. We are proposing one curbed island for every 30 spaces. The next section is 191-37G4. This is a partial waiver for shade trees. 20 are required. We are proposing 6 and offering a fee in lieu of the other 14. Similarly, as to section 191-48A, we're requesting a waiver for street trees. Due to the overhead wires and septic field, we're not proposing any street trees, but are offering a fee in lieu for the 18 that are required. The next waiver is section 191-62B, which requires concrete curbs along the frontage on New Ford Mill Road. There's no curbing proposed. There's very little in the area, and there's none on the adjoining properties. The next section is section 191-78D17. This is a waiver from providing a traffic impact study. We're not proposing to increase the number of employees. I believe Joe had told me from Samex that they're proposing to have 20 to 25 employees to start. And the last one is a waiver from section 187-13B1 of your stormwater ordinance as to a minimum pipe size. 15 inches is required. We're proposing 12 inches to drain from the truck loading and unloading area because we're not expecting a great deal of stormwater in that area.
Okay. All right. All right. Comments or questions from board members at this time? Mr. Zipka?
Well, I'll say right now, my first comment is the amount of waivers that you need for the site are there. I can see where some of them might be, but I normally have a problem with anything more than about 2 or 3 waivers, and we're looking at least 9. And
I think you'll find...
the storm drain, the pipe, if it's a minimum of 15, to say, you're not expecting other runoff there, you never know what's going to happen these days, and if the minimum's 15, I think it should be a 15. I can see where curbing, not having it in other areas, but even the traffic impact study, the facility hasn't been open that long. I think it should be done just to see and the size of the vehicles that'll be coming in and out. But my main problem is just the amount of the waivers. But I'll see what other board members have to say.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also had a question about the stormwater, the size of the stormwater pipe. I don't know whether Mr. Sullivan can fill us in here, whether the 12-inch pipe is adequate.
12-inch pipe in this condition is adequate.
Because, why?
It is a sufficient size for the area of stormwater that's being collected. It will convey the proper storm through that size pipe. so 15-inch wasn't necessary.
Okay, so
Minimum
you-
15 inches usually has to do with not just capacity, but ease of maintenance.
Right.
But in this case, a 12-inch pipe would be fine.
Okay, thank you. The question of the islands, are any islands now present in the parking area? You're proposing to install these?
No,
No,
we're
there's none.
proposing to install all of them.
We're just going to add some trees to the
Right.
site. And
Right. It's a good idea, and I appreciate what you said about giving us some fee and giving the township fee in lieu of the trees, because having met with the Shade Tree Commission, we have plenty, just recently, we have plenty of need for more trees, other places in the township, so we have been willing to do that in the past. Those are all the comments I have at the moment. Oh, the one last question I had is the containment area. Could you describe to us how the containment area is used or why it's necessary?
It's for, they're going to have tanks in there for storing chemicals outside the building.
So if there's a spill,
It's all
what you do?
contained. There's 3-foot-high walls, concrete walls.
Okay,
And it's canopied, so, we don't have much stormwater getting into it.
right.
So that's basically,
Did you
What it is.
explain the valve?
the valve is just for the truck offloading area.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask
That
the question,
storm area-
when we talk about
that stormwater
containment
area, with the pipe and everything, that's only about 10 by 20,
Right,
where the actual inlet is. And that has to be, has a draw gate where it has to be tested even, anytime there's a storm event, has to be tested before the water can be released.
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew what we were talking about when we said containment area, so. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
The only question I had was about the pipe, which has already been answered, but I do agree with Mr. Zupke. This is a lot of waivers you're asking for here. I guess it is what it is, though. I guess most of these pre-existing conditions, the parking space sizes and the lack of curbing and so forth.
Okay.
My only other concern is the traffic study, or the lack of a traffic study. Like he said, there, until you're up and running, who knows what it's going to be like on that road? With trucks coming in, trucks coming out, because that can be a pretty busy road during the day.
Just to piggyback a little Mr. Dents' question, one of my questions was going to be, the nature of the traffic, because obviously it's not just employees. First off, are these employees, is this just one 8-hour shift, or is it round the clock? In terms of vehicles that are coming with chemicals, leaving with chemicals, how often are they coming, how often are they leaving? That's the kind of thing we just don't know right now. So I don't know if you have an idea at this point what your plans, certainly.
As I explained to the planning board, we're 1 8-hour shift.
Okay?
Chemical trucks, we expect tanker deliveries, maybe, once a week, twice a week at the most. As you know, Newford Mill Road is we're not going to add, even 0.25% of what's going down Newford Mill Road.
Right.
In existing condition. We have rail from the back,
Okay.
which we'll utilize, and most of our shipments are either full truckloads or half truckloads.
Okay.
And we're only using half of the building, so we don't anticipate really increasing a lot of traffic on the road.
That's all I had.
All right, just while you're there, just a minute, just to kind of keep the conversation going on that topic. So you have tanker trucks coming in delivering chemicals. You also have rail, delivery by rail as well. All right, so what's going out of the facility? Obviously, something's going out.
Usually we package it into 1-gallon containers.
Okay.
Currently, we do, box trucks or trailers, 1 or 2 a day at most.
Okay,
No.
so all right, so you're going to have trucks leaving as well with product.
Right. But if I'm only bringing in, 1 or 2 tankers a week, it's
Okay,
equals another 2 or 3 going out.
okay, all right. All right, yeah, that was one of the questions I had was the nature of the traffic. I agree, obviously, the waivers you're requesting, most of them are reasonable because, as you said, as Mr. Dents has said, the parking facility is already there. So having you sort of, just restripe the entire parking lot to sort of match, the requirement in terms of parking stalls, doesn't seem to be, especially when it's not obviously a huge operation. You've got a lot of parking spaces here. Obviously it's, if you've got 25 employees and maybe some people visiting for various reasons, sales or something else. It doesn't seem to be really necessary. There's no curbing in the parking lot now, so adding it, I understand that that request. There's no curbing on Newford Mill, very little on Newford Mill Road, so adding it along the entire, front of the property, which is a pretty good distance, seems a little bit, excessive as well. Mr. Sullivan's addressed the pipe size issue, and also you've addressed the issue with the trees, which we appreciate as well. But the traffic impact study, I hear some of the concerns of the other board members. Mrs. Kozlowski, any comments or questions at this time?
Yes, I studied the plan thoroughly, and I can tell you that I am disturbed by the way we roll the red carpet out or anything out at U.S. Steel. We gave them 14 years of tax-free years, while our paying industries don't get these kinds of favors. Yet every time I look, U.S. Steel is asking for something.
Sorry, Mrs. Vlasky, just to interrupt, but Mrs. Vlasky, this project is not inside the KIPC.
I realize that. I know the township better than you do, Mr. Harvey. 45 years has taught me something. Okay. Now, I'm making a general statement. Okay. KOIZ is a dismal failure. We're facing humongous tax increases at the school district. They were stupid enough to vote for KOIZ. And I want to know who's monitoring the applications. The township should be monitoring, because once a year, KOIZ should be applying to Harrisburg and reapplying for their KOIZ status. Yet I have not been able to find one time when they did. And I called Mr. Byland the first year, for the sake of the tax-paying public. Mr. Byland is the head of U.S. Steel Realty, and he didn't even know what I was talking about, let alone perform what was required for that big gift he got from the Falls and School District and the county. So I'm not happy about it, and I'm not prepared to grant waivers to a tax-paying company that has sheltered most of their 6.5 square miles out there in a tax-free 14 years.
Mrs. Vlasky, this Cemex is not inside the KOIZ.
I realize that, Mr. Harvey, and don't talk to me like I'm the village idiot, because I can tell you I know exactly where it is.
Well, but they are,
and I'm
just to clarify, they are paying taxes, so you just said that they were not.
I'm talking about U.S. Steel generally.
All right, well,
they're the ones that are bankrupting this township when
we're not bankrupt.
Of course we're not. I brought in almost $500 million. We're not bankrupt, and you're spending it like a drunken sailor.
Well,
so I'm voicing my opinion, and I'll appreciate you not contradicting me. You may express your opinion. You have that right. Yes. But I have the right to say what I think, and I think I know just a bit more than you do, Mr. Harvey.
Okay, but just to clarify, this project is not inside KOIZ, and they are going to be paying, or are already paying, property taxes. So,
but when U.S. Steel allows someone to come in or out of KOIZ, they have an incentive because they have this board majority in the palm of their hand. I was hoping things would change somewhat here, and we would quit doing all of the favoritism down there at KOIZ and at U.S. Steel in general. They make a profit when they rent, sell, or lease. And that's where I see the red carpet every time they come in here. And I want to alert the taxpayers in Falls Township, you better get registered to vote, because the teacher's contract expires on June 30th of this year. And if you do not do something about taking back your school district for the taxpayers and the children, this is your last window of time to do it.
Okay.
And I've done studies on that as well.
All right, let's try and stay focused on the issue here for Samex, which is the waiver of land development.
Talk about what I want to talk about.
All right, well, right now, these people are asking us to take a look at their issue, so that's what we're looking at right now.
I've looked at it.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, any comments or questions on the waiver requests other than what we've already heard?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Freeman, you had a chance to look at the resolution, and I know that, like I said before, there were some traffic planning comments included in there. Did you have any comments or questions regarding those?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, we've had some board comment and questions. Is there any public comment? Let's see, one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mr. Erickson?
Ray Erickson from Fairless Hills. What type of detector or solvent-specific detector will the containment area have? If the containment area, if there's drippage or anything of the sort, and even though it's canopied itself, if the solvents were to leak somehow or other, the volume of the tanks in relation to the retaining walls compared to whatever type of stormwater that occurs or rain that gets into the containment area, being able to monitor the solvents that might be dissolved in the water, what type of detector system to detect whether solvents are actually in the rainwater or not before being drained?
If a spill is, if there's a tank spillage, you have to call in, we have to call in a special company.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you just speak in the microphone? I'm sorry.
If there is a tank spill, we have to call in a special company to come clean it up. But the basic containment is approved and has to go through testing from the DEP, which we have permits for to install the tanks. And the containment area itself has to pass DEP testing to contain, to make sure it does not spill out of that area.
And just to add to that, the stormwater will not be released into the ground.
Ms. Freeman, I'm sorry. I need a microphone. Sorry.
The stormwater will not be released into the ground. This is the valve I was referring to earlier, which will contain the water within the containment area so that it can be tested prior to it being taken away.
Will there be accounting in regard to the solvents that are delivered compared to those that are packaged in regard to a ratio of what might be lost because of volatile organic compounds?
Yes, and that's a requirement by the DEP.
Thank you.
I have one other comment, Mr. Chairman. I think the argument is very thin that this has existed, therefore we should continue to allow it to exist. And I can point to a number of things here in Falls where we departed from the existing plan. Woolston Drive is a perfect example, residential and commercial. We didn't have curbs along that road, nor sidewalks, and yet when each person came in to do a business on the property that was developed, they had to do sidewalks and curbs. They're taxpayers, you're taxpayers. But I do not think that we should grant so many waivers in our township that depart from a zoning ordinance intended to develop with a steady, sensible rationale. And what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. If we're going to make little taxpayers do it, we ought to make, or in some industry, then we ought to make all industry do it and not use flimsy arguments as an excuse.
Okay, is there any other public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, Ms. Freeman, you said that you were will comply with the resolution as it is now, and also I think that already incorporates the letters from the fire marshal, correct? If not, I think you.
It does mention that we need to consult with the fire marshal.
Okay.
But we have already received a letter from the fire marshal, so.
Okay. All right. Okay, we've had board comment, public comment. We've heard that from the applicant. Any other comments or questions regarding board members? And if not, is there a motion? The resolution would be, if passed 1005. which is a waiver of land development. Waivers of land development, probably should have done this first. Waivers from land development are essentially, if a project comes in that is relatively small in nature, it doesn't have to go through the entire land development process, which could be pretty lengthy. So they're asking for a waiver of land development, as you heard Mr. Kashner say, the engineer, 178,000 square foot facility and a relatively small canopy they're putting on and just adding some handicap parking spaces and a couple of islands in their parking lot to plant trees. So, any other comments or questions from board members or?
There is a question from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I got this resolution in my packet
Okay.
when it was delivered last week. I come to the meeting tonight and I find the same resolution unless you've changed something.
The resolution, the newer one that was here, had the comments from traffic planning and design added to it. So if you've looked through the traffic planning and design comments, they've just been incorporated into the new resolution.
Well, let me address this subject, Mr. Gray. I dislike having things put in my mailbox at home at the last minute. You should deliver one packet, the current packet, with the stuff that comes in and dated by a certain cutoff date. But I have noticed that when a favored individual applies for something and we've already got our packets on Monday or Friday, and we've had a chance to study it, then on Monday or even Tuesday morning, I find something at home or I find something here on this desk. And I'm going to suggest that this habit stop. And it isn't funny, Mr. Clark, you're supposed to be the solicitor that gives this board sound legal advice, not just meet with the chairman and no one else. And I asked Mr. Harvey if he meets with you once a week. He never answered. I'd like to know if you are meeting with him on an every week basis and if we're paying for that.
I meet with Mr. Gray and Mr. Harvey every Tuesday at approximately 3 o'clock to go over township business.
Then my information is correct. The problem is, we are for...
In the bill list.
Do not interrupt me, sir.
All right, Mrs.
I'm
Lasky.
asking you a question.
Mrs. Lasky.
And Mr. Harvey,
Oh, I'm
I will
sorry.
not be gaveled out of order.
We have an issue. We have
Every
an issue
time
we're
you
looking
don't
at.
want the taxpayers at home to know what you're doing, you use that gavel.
Actually,
Now,
Mrs.
that
Lasky,
you're just
I'm
being
trying to-
very...
I'm trying to save you from embarrassment, because quite frankly,
Don't try to
it's not an
save me
issue.
from embarrassed. You're the one
It's
in
not
this
an-
township
it's
that should
not an
be
issue
embarrassed.
that I'm meeting with the solicitor.
Yes, it is.
and
When you talk to
and
your
with the
cronies on that
manager,
side of the board,
and with the manager to discuss
you
township
are-
issues.
then-
You should be meeting with the manager and the solicitor and the engineer regularly to discuss township issues.
I will
Why
come
don't you?
every Tuesday. I just found out you were doing it.
Ms. Lasky, the meetings have been going on like this for 10 or 12 years. It's not new.
No, they haven't.
have.
But we'll take care of that in the
Yes, they have.
Vislowski newsletter. You
Fine.
never
That's
tell
fine.
the truth.
Let's look back. Mr. Gray, I want to ask you to, because Mrs. Kozlowski raises, I think, a credible point. I wanted to give you a chance to answer it. It has happened, and even before you were manager, I'll point out it happened that there were items left on the dais here when we will come into the meetings, some last-minute things or clarifications. Was there a reason why not everything was included in the packets we received on Thursday?
Yeah, there were some additional items that were necessary to provide on Monday we didn't have on Thursday. We did that in advance of the possibility of a snowstorm. So we did it on Thursday, and we provided another packet on Monday
And
just
the
to get the information.
Township building was closed on Friday?
That's correct.
Okay.
How did it make the agenda? If it comes in late and there are additional items that can't be presented to the board members at the time our weekly packets go out, then what I am complaining about is the fact that I always find last-minute stuff that I don't have a chance to study because this practice should not be happening. That's not how you run open, honest government.
Well, I believe the two items that were sent yesterday were the minutes, which is a regular item, and there was another item as well. There was only a two-page document.
Well, having injured my leg and being at the hospital, I don't like having to do that when I come home on the day of a meeting. Now, I can tell you, I'm asking you to stop it, and I'm going to strongly suggest that this practice cease. I want everything in my packet on the cutoff date. And if any amendments have to be made, then they can be rescheduled for a new meeting and a new agenda. I see too much secrecy in government.
Okay, all right. Any of the comments regarding the actual issue in front of us? Mhm. If not, is there a motion or a...
In the new resolution.
Yes.
It does talk about, truck turn templates being done.
Correct.
And so.
Yes, those are all issues.
It's almost as if the traffic study should be done for the size of the trucks in there from the way this one paragraph is worded.
Okay.
So that's.
So would you...
I think, it also has in here about a waiver from that, so.
Yeah, it does on, yes, the next to the last page, right, well, the next to the last page talks about waivers granted. Section E, subsection H, talks about the requiring a traffic impact study. It seems like there's members of the board that have an issue with granting that waiver particularly. Obviously, we could approve the resolution minus EH, which references the traffic impact study, if that's what the Board of Supervisors is interested in doing.
It's not what I'll agree to. I don't like piecemeal government either. I like to see the whole package with everything laid out before me that requires my vote. Give me all of the information and in enough time to study it. Don't slap it on the desk here when I walk in, and late, because I couldn't avoid that.
I didn't make a comment.
No time to read it.
Well, Ms. Wisłowski, as I said, the only additions to this resolution were from the
I don't need your opinion. I've expressed mine.
It's actual fact, actually. Were from the traffic planning comment or review letter. So if you reviewed that, as you said you did, then there really isn't anything new here. It just incorporated this as the other one did not.
If it's not new, it shouldn't be on this desk when I arrive at the meeting.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, just on the issue of the waivers, as we're looking through the waivers, I don't have a problem. It seems like some of the answers have already been given to us on the size of the pipe, the curbing, the trees. We're going to be receiving a fee. The sticking point, excuse me, the sticking point seems to be the traffic study. So if others feel that we ought to require the traffic study, I'm comfortable with doing that.
Oh, all right, then is there, I guess, a motion that could be made by someone to approve the resolution minus that one section? I mean, that's the easiest thing to do.
The easiest thing to do is to table until the next meeting so that it can all be considered as one resolution.
Mr. Clark, I'm sorry, you were saying?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was asking Mr. Sullivan a question.
Use the microphone too, please. Microphone.
I apologize. I was talking to Mr. Sullivan. I didn't hear your question.
I think you would start to say something when...
You could approve the resolution and just not grant the waiver to paragraph 11, which is that section regarding the traffic impact study.
Okay.
With regards to tabling, we're under a timetable under the municipality's planning code. So if the applicant doesn't agree to have this matter tabled to another date, we have to either vote it up or down this evening, or else it would be a deemed approval if the applicant doesn't grant an extension this evening.
Right, and as I said, I think the issue here is relatively simple. So I think if the board is willing to grant the resolution, minus section 11, A11, I think that probably would solve most of the concerns.
Question.
Yes, Ms. Wisłowski.
How did we get where tonight is the deemed approval night when we're getting last-minute stuff?
Ms. Wisłowski.
Who dropped the ball while the clock was ticking?
No one dropped the ball, Ms. Wisłowski.
Okay, then why are we with our backs to the wall? It's because we're being forced to consider it tonight, or the ordinance is approved by default. I don't like that kind of government either, and I'm tired of sitting here and watching Falls Township.
So you're saying, Mr. Clark, that we can't, if we were to table this tonight and they didn't agree to it, it would pass?
It would be a deemed approval.
Deemed approval with no waiver.
And ask why, Mr. Dance. Why did we get in that position? When was the application made?
Ms. Wisłowski, it's a very straightforward application.
No, it
It's-
isn't.
You may
Nothing
not.
straightforward that you've got your fingers in.
Ms. Wisłowski,
Ask when the application
this is-
was made. I'm speaking to my fellow board member, Mr.
It
Dance.
says it on the resolution.
Yeah.
Well-
It was submitted on December 9th, 2009.
Okay, December 9th, 2009, and we've had a delay now until March the 2nd, 2010. What happened in the meantime, and why wasn't this scheduled sooner?
Had to go to the Planning Commission.
Well, it could have been scheduled to go to the Planning Commission.
You couldn't go to...
December, January, February.
Did it go in
There were 3
January?
months.
Did it go in January to the Planning Commission?
Mr. Chairman, the plans had to be revised at least once in the time frame between when they submitted and now. This is their first opportunity to meet with the Board of Supervisors. The expiration date is not tonight, but
Right.
it does expire prior to your next meeting, which is why they need to agree to an extension should you
Right.
decide to table this application.
Then my question is still valid. Why, when the revision was made, didn't we ask the petitioner to grant us more time beyond this date?
All right, is there a motion from...
What was that question, Mrs. Poslowski?
Why didn't we ask for an extension?
It was clear. Shall I recite it in Swahili?
No, that's
Okay.
all right. I don't speak Swahili.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 10-05, which is the waiver of land development for Samex Enterprises, 1001 New 4 Mill Road, with the exception of not granting the waiver, Section D, number 11, regarding the traffic impact study.
Section A, number 11.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For purposes of the motion, Mr. Snipes, please
Yes.
state the section of the ordinance that you're not granting the waiver from.
Yes. That is 191.78.d.17.
Okay. All right, so motion is made granting preliminary, or granting a waiver, but not granting, waiver of land development, but not granting the waiver for the traffic study. Is there a second to the motion? Or absent a second, is there another motion?
Yes, I move to table.
I'll second the motion
Which one?
to table.
Okay, motion to table is made and seconded.
Before you take this vote, Ms. Freemuth, will your client agree to an extension of time for the board to consider this application?
May I have a moment, please?
Yes, sir.
Table passes, you have to go get me a drink. Mr. Dent, I bought all the racks from the building that was down there. I know every blade of grass at site.
Racks?
The racks, the clothing racks.
When is
Thought
the
about
board's
it.
next meeting, Mr. Clark?
We meet 2 weeks from tonight, March 16th.
We'd be willing to grant an extension until March 16th, through March 16th.
Thank you.
And just remember, board members, what that means in the year that we are currently having. If on-
We're here, rain,
if
sleet,
on-
snow,
If
yeah.
on the morning of March 16th, the ninth blizzard of the year blows in, and 5 of you, or 3 of you
yeah.
make it here that evening,
Thank you, Hurricane Schwartz.
it'll be a deemed approval.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we've had a motion and a second to table, and I presume it would be to table to a date certain, which would be March 16th. Would you be willing to amend that motion? I take as a no. All right, so motion is made to table. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Poslowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
No.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
No.
Okay. All right, so now we have to grant an extension?
Ms. Freemuth has just given you an extension to March 16th.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I know, we will have to vote on it.
All right, second item on our agenda this evening is consider approval of geese management agreement at the Falls Township Community Park. Mr. Gray.
Yes, a proposal from S&S Professional Wildlife Control Services has been secured for goose management at the Falls Township Community Park. This proposal includes permits with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and egg addling. In prior years, the township has completed the egg addling program. It is recommended the township do the egg addling program again at the park. The total cost of this project is $5,225. At this time, the board is asked to consider this project. In addition, tonight, Bill Reese from Park and Rec Department is here to discuss this plan.
Okay. Mr. Reese, if you wouldn't mind, I know Mr. Gillis is here too. He's done a lot of work. Sorry, John, I think you probably thought you were going to sit back here anonymously, but you've done a lot of good work, and you should take some credit for it.
What's Froderick?
Yeah.
Gotta get Froderick.
We have a special guest tonight, too.
Yes, I know. I saw him earlier. Yes. All right. So I guess the issue before us is people that use the park regularly know that we have is an issue like many places have, wide open green areas, especially if there's water nearby. Problem with Canadian geese.
Right.
You know, settling and leaving behind some things we'd rather have not have them leave behind. The issue every year is usually how do we deal with this, and if you wouldn't mind just commenting a little bit on what we've done in the past, how effective you think it's been, and making a recommendation, I guess, and new things that we've tried. I know Mr. Gillis has been very active in trying some new things, and how effective they've been.
Yes. We've been doing this for like the last 7 years with S&S Wildlife. And it's definitely made a difference. And if you remember, about 3 years ago, we did a roundup, and we removed 72 birds, geese from the park. And yes, it definitely appears and definitely has been the case where we've had a lot less geese there. Although we still have geese, the addling of the eggs certainly has helped, and we should continue to do that because it'll just, and because of this little friend here, the fox, when the fox is put up, the geese don't go anywhere near it. And when we had the snowstorm, I think John can attest to this, when John had to remove the foxes from it, the geese came back. So the foxes definitely, and it was a lot cheaper to purchase 6 foxes than to do other types of things. But the addling of the eggs is really important. This just takes care of the existing birds, but the addling of the eggs takes care of the eggs that are already planted, already, being nurtured in their nest.
And for those who don't know, just what is egg addling? What does that mean?
It makes the egg.
Well, if you don't mind using it. Sorry, John.
It makes the egg non-viable by you spray vegetable oil on the nest, and it doesn't permit oxygen to enter the eggs to the shell.
And they don't hatch.
And they don't grow. They don't hatch.
Right. Right. So why? And then the obvious question would be for people would say, well, why not just take the eggs and destroy them?
It's considered inhumane.
Right, it's inhumane. Obviously, I think the other issue
reason
too.
why you can't shoot them.
Right. I think the other issue too is I think if the geese see the eggs are gone, they'll lay new eggs.
That's right.
And so it becomes a never-ending kind of problem.
That's correct.
Whereas the geese think the eggs are going to hatch and they don't bother laying new eggs, and by the time they realize they're not hatching, that time for them to lay eggs has passed.
Right.
So.
Mr. Gillis, is that in your job description?
I consider it to be yes.
Good. It'll be more realistic if we stuff the rubber fox, because he's kind of flat-looking.
Come on.
It shakes there, too. It's amazing. Yeah.
But,
You couldn't fool me.
So what's the issue? The fox. I know you're also looking at some cardboard cutouts plywood cutouts of dogs. How's that going to work, or how has it worked?
Well, I haven't had a chance to use them yet for falls, but I've noticed them in other places. I got those from George School.
Okay.
I met with the caretaker there today, and he was kind enough to take time with me and give me a silhouette to cut out for our own use, that we can make copies of our own. The property is George School. Every time I go by there, there's not goose one on that property. If you look across the street, they're all there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're effective. They show promise.
Right.
How much do those cost?
These were actually under $30 for 2 of these guys.
And how much did we spend last year?
I honestly couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
This is my first year I'm getting involved.
Mr. Gray?
For the program with S&S Wildlife, we spent $4,785.
Gee, we could buy a lot of rubber foxes for that money, couldn't we?
Mrs. Bislowski, please keep in mind, this is not the total solution.
I know. We're addling the eggs,
Addling,
too.
unfortunately, would be,
I'm aware of that. Well done, Mr. Reese.
S&S is who does the addling, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to thank for giving the basic information. Other comments or questions before we open up for public comment? Mr. Zupka.
Thank you. I understand, too, that swans are the mortal enemy of geese. Now, I'm not really saying to get a couple swans, but how about the same thing? Fake swans out on the water?
again, sir, this is all new to me. I'm just learning this as I go.
We're going to write you a job description.
But I do know,
I mean, I could get an alligator to take care of the snapping turtle,
well,
too, so.
No more notes. Don't say snapping turtle.
I'll bring you one from Florida. There's one that hangs around my mobile home.
We have,
the closest, there's 4 different communities, basically on the East Coast, and the one I know is the closest is in Virginia. It's right outside, well, Springfield, Virginia, but they've actually, and I don't know how, and I've been trying to look it up, how they actually got permission to have a goose hunt, but they've done it twice now, and you know. And I know we have quite a few people in the township that would love to be able to do that.
We've had a lot of volunteers over the last couple of years too, but I had to say no. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Wisłowski, comments or questions?
No others.
All right. Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
Yeah, how many of the fox do we have?
I only have 6 right now. This is just totally experimental. I would like to get 6 more if I could.
Why don't we get you 26 more?
So
I like.
Wait. Let's let Mr. Gillis speak, please. Thank you.
Right now, as I said, I started this experiment this year. I've never done anything like this before. These seem to be effective, but I can't put them everywhere I like to put them. I only have 6. Where these are, generally, as Mr. Reese said, the geese aren't. I'm going for the dog silhouettes, too, because I've also been informed by people who I trust that once the actual nesting begins, these little guys might not do the job on the geese. The geese become more aggressive, and they might not be intimidated by this.
Okay.
How might you prevent people from walking off with them? They're kind of cute.
I have no control over that other than the fact that I put them out in the morning and I
no
make
way
sure
to anchor them or.
No, I make sure I collect them at night before I leave.
Right.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Good.
That's not effective, for the whole program. They should stay out all night, but
Right.
I can't trust them not to walk.
You're the fox
They might get
custodian.
real legs.
How many?
All right.
How many more do you think you would? I'll say I'd like to have.
At least a
Just
dozen more.
Okay.
Dozen more fox.
Yeah.
Rubber
Okay.
fox.
Don't knock the fox.
Anything else?
That's it.
No?
That's all I have.
Okay. All right. So what we're just for the record, we've talked a lot about the alternative kind of methods we're using, which we haven't used before. The fox, which Mr. Gillis is holding an example of. The board has photographs of examples of plywood cutouts that quite a few places use. And O'Connell Egan uses it on their fields, which are on Worcester Road. To sort of keep geese away, and it seems very, very effective. In other places, like you're saying, George School uses them, and I know some other places use them. Obviously, very, very inexpensive. You get some plywood, you cut out a dog shape, you paint it black, you put some pipes on the back, you stick it on the ground. So those are the things we're trying in addition. But just for the record, what you're recommending, Mr. Reese, is to hire S&S Wildlife, who we've used in the past, to do an egg addling program, and that would also require them filing for a permit with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the total cost of that would be $5,225.
That's correct.
Okay, and their egg addling would last roughly from when to when? How many weeks or months?
Usually about 3 months.
Okay.
Nesting is probably going to take place very soon. I've noticed the geese are starting to pair off down at the park.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's obviously something we want to move on and try and get them as soon as possible. Okay. All right. Are there any public comment? I see one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Just in the past year or two, there have been a number of turkey buzzards in the area in Fairless Hills that I'd never seen before. I knew they're up at, was it not Lake Luxembourg, but one closer to Quakertown? What's the name of that lake up there? Nockamixon's 20, 30 of the turkey buzzards. But recently, within the past year or two, there have been peregrine falcons. And the peregrine falcons have a surprising effect on the squirrels and other birds in the area. I don't know if the birds see the peregrine falcon coming in, or if they hear the velocity of the wings just swooping in. Do geese have the same type of sensitivity to peregrine falcons?
I don't know. Not really an expert on falcons or geese, quite frankly. I know we were supposed to have someone from S&S Wildlife here this evening, but they could not make it. But I don't know, and I'm assuming that Mr. Gillis and Mr. Reese don't feel comfortable commenting on that either. So, yeah.
The sound effects. I mean, It was just earlier today that a peregrine falcon had practically swooped over my right shoulder, but the birds were talking above, and as soon as it swept, I heard just a flutter of a tail, and the peregrine falcon went, phew, and I was only about 15 feet off the ground where the birds were way up in the trees, and they shut up just like that.
Where was this at?
Fairless Hills, the golf course, or by the golf course, pretty much.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, sure, thank you. Sorry we couldn't answer your question. All right, is there any other public comment? See no hands or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, so we're looking here at whether or not to approve geese management agreements for the Falls Township Community Park goose control in the amount of $5,225. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the goose management agreement for 2010 at the price of, where was the price? $5,225.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Poland, can you pull the board, please?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank
Before
you.
these gentlemen walk away.
Hold on, guys, just a minute.
I'd like to make a motion to allow, I'll say, Park and Rec Board to buy a dozen more of the foxes to work with this at the park.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right, I guess is that all right?
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay,
Yes, that'd
that's
be
fine.
great.
Yeah, obviously they're
I actually
pretty,
I figure you should start it now before they really start pairing up as the weather changes.
The time is right.
Right.
That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay.
that's fine. All right. Motion's made and seconded. We're spending money. We don't know how much money we're spending, but we're authorizing the expenditure of money.
$30 each.
We said less than, you said
30
less
a
than
pair.
that, yeah. Mrs. Poland, pull the board, please.
$360.
Mr. Zupka?
That's right.
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Rishamels, just stay there for a little while because you're,
I'm just going to get my next.
oh, that's fine, yeah. All right. Next item on our agenda is consider purchase of playground equipment for 3 of our parks here in Falls Township. Mr. Gray?
Yes. Quotes were secured for playground equipment to be installed at 3 of our parks located at Valley Day, Kirby Park, and Penn's Grant Park. All 3 of these parks currently have older wooden structures. With the purchase of new equipment, all township parks would have newer structures without wooden attachments. Total cost of the 3 playground units is $63,540. At this time, the board is asked to consider purchase of these 3 playground equipment items. Tonight, to discuss this further, again, is Bill Reese, Director of Park and Recreation, and Dave Eli from Eli and Associates, George Eli and Associates.
Okay. All right, Mr. Reese, can you give us a rundown on what we're looking to do here?
Yes, we'd like the board to consider to purchase play equipment for Penn's Grant Park, Kirby Park, and Valley Day Park for a total of $63,540. If I could just add one thing prior to more discussion about it. Originally, we had budgeted $60,000 for 2 playgrounds, but Dave Eli did a great job, and because of different things that's going on with the Eli and Associates, we were able to take care of 3 parks for new play equipment for an additional $3,540, so that's why the total is $63,540.
Okay. All right. That's obviously, good work by you, and we appreciate Mr. Eli, his cooperation. Certainly the children are going to be using the new equipment, you know, presuming we buy it, are going to be enjoying the two. The parks, again, we're looking at Valley Day, Kirby, and Penn's Grant Park. Two of these lots are for the small children, tot lots, correct? Okay.
Yes.
The ones in Kirby Park and the one at Penn's Grant Park, we're looking to replace this for the little kids.
That's correct.
Whereas the Valley Day is the bigger sort of assembly.
That's correct, yes.
All right. All right. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No comment.
Mr. Snipes?
I may have a few later. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No comment.
Okay. I guess the only thing I would ask is, what's Mr. Eli might be a better respondent for this. What's the average lifespan of equipment like this? Obviously, the tot lot stuff isn't going to be getting, the heavy kinds of kids that the other playground equipment would be getting, but just what's the ballpark kind of a time period?
For the record, it's Ely.
Ely, sorry.
It's okay.
Apologize.
Very common
That's okay.
pronunciation. Ely. The lifespan is fairly broad. There's warranties that span anywhere from 15 to 20, 25. In many cases, lifetime warranties on a lot of the structural pieces, post, clamps, hardware. We generally see the lifespan somewhere in the area of 15 to 25 years, depending on the amount of use. And also, a matter of fashion, personal preference, someone just decides to update the playground. Right. Many of the pieces of equipment that's out there now are, I would say, somewhere in the area of 15 to 20, which is fairly average.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this isn't a case, and you brought up a good point, for the record again, this isn't a case of us just deciding, we don't like the colors of this anymore, let's replace it. This is old equipment we're replacing.
Right. Yep.
Okay. All right. Mr. Snipes, did you have any questions or comments?
No, that's fine.
All right. Is there any public comment needed? I don't see any hands. Okay. So we're looking to consider purchase of this equipment. And I should add one more question. We purchase tonight. Let's say, I'm assuming the board will agree to purchase tonight. What kind of time frame are we looking at in terms of getting it, put in the ground and kids playing on it?
What do you think, like about April, sometime in April, May? Like about 6 weeks?
Yeah, 5 to 6 weeks.
About 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay. Is that just for the
Depending on-
delivery or delivery and installation?
Well, installation will probably be another week per park, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So about 5 or 6 weeks for delivery, and then about another week or two for installation, because depending if our public works has to remove the existing equipment,
Okay.
that makes a big difference.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But certainly way before the kids get out of school, yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Is there a motion then, looking at the consideration of purchasing playground equipment for the 3 parks from George Ely Associates?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we approve the purchase of playground equipment from George Ely Associates for Penn's Grant Park, Kirby Park, Valley Day Park, with the total amount of $63,540.
Okay. Motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ely. Appreciate your help.
Thank you. Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
Now with this going to be done, all of our parks that have play equipment would have been brand-new things bought in the last 8 years. As a matter of fact, 5 of them are only about 2 years or less old. So we should really be in great shape for a lot of years to come for play equipment.
That's
Thank
great.
you very
Thank-
much.
Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for your work on all that over the past few years. I appreciate that. All right. This is staying with the Park and Rec for the next couple of agenda items here. Item 4, consider authorizing advertisement of bids for bus service for the 2010 summer camp program. Mr. Gray.
Yes, as mentioned, this item is authorization for advertisement for the bus services for the 2010 Summer Rec Program here at Falls Township. This will be from June 28th to August 6th, 2010. In the past, trips from the camp go to various locations, including the Philadelphia Zoo, Great Adventure, the Camden Aquarium, and other locations as well. At this time, the board is asked to consider authorization for advertisement for bus services.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from board members? Again, just advertising for the bids to go out and see what kinds of bids we get back from the bus services. Mr. Zupka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No questions, and I'm prepared to make the motion to
Okay.
advertise.
Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Okay, I don't have any. I don't know if you just want to say a few words just real quickly about.
Well, yeah, I mean, a big part of our summer camp program, the buses, we go to Pinewood Pools, and we need the buses for that. And we do approximately 2 bus trips a week, one for the younger kids and one for the older kids. So
Okay.
it's vital for our program, yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so looking for a motion, Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes, so moved.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mr. Gray, number 5 is authorize advertisement for the bids for chlorine and muriatic acid for the Pinewood Pool.
Yes, again, similar to the last item, this is for the Pinewood Pool for the upcoming season for the chlorine and muriatic acid. At this time, the board is asked to consider authorization to advertise.
Okay. It seems pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, we need the chemicals for the pool. It's a very big pool, and the amount of money we spend on the chemicals exceeds $10,000, so we'd have to go out to bid on the provision of these chemicals. Any comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
No.
And I have none. Is there a motion then to authorize advertisement for these bids?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Apologize, don't imagine there's any public comment needed in terms of bids. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 6, consider authorizing advertisement of bid for a pool slide at the Pinewood Pool. Mr. Gray.
Yes, similar to the last 2 items, this is authorization to advertise for a new slide at the Pinewood Pool. The current existing water slide continues to produce problems with the hardware on the structure itself. After discussions with Mr. Reese, we both feel that this is something that needs to be replaced for the upcoming season. Again, the board is asked to consider authorization to advertise.
Okay. All right. And I know that having gone to the pool, been a member last year, and people that have were members last year, the one slide on the at the pool was broken pretty much the entire summer.
Correct.
So this is looking to replace that. Mr. Reese, you want to any comments or things you want to raise in terms of this particular?
Yeah, this particular slide, it's about 4 years old, and I believe because of the traffic that it gets 7 days a week for, Memorial Day through Labor Day, it just, for whatever reason, just wasn't made for that for some reason. So we're looking to replace it and replace with something a little bit more sturdier that would be more advantageous and be strong enough to take care of the volume that it gets 7 days a week. Okay.
And Mr. Sullivan, I know you took a look at just the site out there, and the slide that Mr. Reese has looked at is a fit, and I know you also, I think, had looked at the concrete out there. Is there any problem with sort of getting a new slide, mounting it? We have to do any kind of major work?
Shouldn't be any problem with the slide that we're looking at this time.
Okay. All right. All right, so I know there's the other issue, which I talked to Mr. Gray about, is that there is a slide we think we're possibly on the state bid list, but we're not quite sure. What's the situation with that, Mr. Gray?
We are currently awaiting for the CoStarz program to put these items on their program. If it goes onto their program, their state bid list, at that time, we might be able to secure a quote from that program.
Okay, so we wouldn't necessarily have to go to bid, but as of now, it's not on the CoStarz list, so we have to, playing it safe, because we don't want to wait, obviously, till May to go out to bid on the slide for the pool. We decided on doing it now. And of course, if we go out to bid and the bids come in higher than we want them to be, or if we find out in the meantime that CoStarz has put this slide for a cheaper price on its list, then we just simply reject the bids. It's a very simple process. Okay, comments or questions from board members regarding the pool slide? Mr. Zupka?
None. It's for advertisement.
Yes, correct. It's for advertisement. Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes. The cost of the slide that's we have presently that's causing problems? Do you remember what that was?
It was just under $10,000.
$10,000.
I think it's 9,900 and some, yeah.
And what exactly is it that is broken now or continues to break?
It's the hardware that's the big problem. The one slide is still fine. It's the other slide that the hardware is just keep breaking away for some reason.
Yeah, the mounting
Hardware.
brackets.
Right.
The mounting
Connecting
brackets
it
and-
It's
to
more of a
the-
hardware problem than
yeah.
the actual tube itself, but,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
And there's no way to replace the hardware, make it sturdier? Or
We'd have to replace almost the entire unit. Plus the pole, the piece that goes into the concrete is loose as well, and you would have to completely take that out and put it back down.
I seem to remember that there was an issue with the slide, or one of the slides, when it was originally purchased, when the
Right.
pool was renovated. Is this the slide that
Same
had to
slide.
be the same slide?
Same slide.
At that point, what was the controversy at that point? Did we send it back, or it didn't come on time? What was the issue with it?
I think there was an original slide bought, and it
Yeah.
was not this one. This was
Right.
sort of the replacement that was sort of
Right.
last minute it was brought in.
That's correct, yes.
Because the original one, when people went down it, it would sort of wobble, and that sort of caused some concern, as it should. And so this was supposed to be sort of an upgrade in terms of strength. And obviously, it lasted, I guess maybe 5 years or 6
Right.
years,
I think, Mr. Snipes, I think a lot had to do with the way it was concreted into the ground, the other slide. It just wasn't done properly, but it wasn't the correct slide to put there.
Yeah,
So
just
that's
wasn't
why we ended up getting the slide that we have now.
right. It just really wasn't a heavy-duty slide.
Right.
The original one or the one we have now?
Well, the original one definitely, and even
Yeah.
the one we have now apparently isn't
Yeah.
strong enough for what we thought it would be.
I'm surprised that whoever we bought it from wouldn't have advised us, given the amount of traffic we have, that this wasn't the appropriate slide.
That's also an issue, yes.
Yeah.
It just seems strange that we would spend $10,000 on a slide that really wasn't appropriate. How do we know the one we're getting now? I mean, it sounds like it's the fixing of the slide to the ground that's the issue, not the slide itself, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, I think it's a combination of both. But yet the blue slide seems to be fine, with the exception, we did have to replace the bottom piece of the blue side, which we did, and the kids were able to use that. But the yellow slide, for some reason, it's just been giving us problems.
So how do we know that the new slide is not going to give us similar problems either, that it's
Well, I'm thinking
inappropriate?
we're hoping that the quality of the slide is going to be a big difference, much stronger, really more commercial use than the one that we currently have.
So we assume it'll be more expensive as well.
It'll be more expensive, yes.
I don't know. Just since you used the term commercial, it would surprise me that a slide that was sold to us for let's call it a commercial pool or for a
Right.
community pool wouldn't have been adequate, or that the installation, I don't know whether it's the installation people that we have a question with. Did we install it or did they install it?
I think they installed. I'm pretty sure they installed it.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
installed.
Mr.
installed.
Gillis
Yeah.
who's obviously been there said they installed it. And you don't know, was it obviously we're looking at the bids we have here. The idea is of what we're hoping would go on the CoStarz list because it might save us some money.
Right.
Is from George Ely.
correct.
The slide we have now that is obviously broken. Do we know where that came from? Did it come from George Ely or did it come from?
No,
somewhere
it
else?
did not come
It did
from
not
George
come from George
Ely,
Ely.
no.
Okay, because we've had some pretty good fortune with George Ely
Yes, we have.
Associates. The equipment
Yes.
they give us is usually pretty
Yes.
pretty good. Or
Yes.
always very good.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. And I guess I don't know because it was under $10,000. I'm assuming we probably didn't go out to bid on it. It was just sort of something that maybe we got sort of last minute, just trying to put it at the
Correct.
pool because we needed one. So, but it was
Not
obviously
go out-
it was
did
a
not
long
go
time
out to
ago.
bid, no.
And at this point, when we remove it, it's going to be junk. It couldn't be sold or used somewhere else, or we wouldn't be able to.
I don't think so.
It's not.
I don't believe that would be, maybe somebody's backyard, but I mean, not for another township pool or a community type pool, no.
I don't know. It just seems like a waste that we'd spend $10,000 on something in the last 5 years. So I don't know what we do this time for guarantees, either in the construction or the installation of it. But it seems like somehow somebody goofed with the installation of it at least, and we didn't get maybe our guarantees, or maybe 4 years later the guarantee is over. I don't know if there was one.
Guarantee is over. We looked into that last summer when they began to have problems. The warranty had expired on the slide.
Right.
We're hoping to
Okay.
get a much longer warranty with this, yes.
Right. That was, of course, that was gonna be my question. Was making sure we get a better warranty, obviously,
Yes.
on this one.
A lot longer than 4 years, that's for sure.
Right.
We could actually get a warranty longer than 4 years.
I think so. We're definitely going to try, yes.
Okay, those are my questions.
Okay. Mr. Dents, comments or questions?
No.
All right, and I don't have any. Mr. Snipes and I had a pretty good discussion here with Mr. Reese. Any public comment needed? I see one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gallo Sobert. I agree with Mr. Snipes. I think, hate to say it this way, but I think we've been taken for a slide. And I think it can be fixed, okay? And if it can't be fixed, then there's something wrong. Okay, we bought a piece of junk, and we're going to replace it with something, and there's no guarantee. They've got a slide at the Fairless Hills Pool, and I think it's been there for about 10 years, and I don't see where they have any problem. Of course, that's county, but whether they have any more money than we have. But I agree with you, Mr. Snipes. I think we ought to fix it and save the money for other stuff. You guys can find more ways to spend money than, I can't say more than my wife, because she's pretty good at that. She'll shoot me for that one. Thank you.
Okay. Is there public? I see one other hand.
Oh, come on, Ray. Good God. Stink to put him on. I hesitated too before I voted for him.
When the Fairless Hills Pool was built, they had a set of 1-meter boards and a 3-meter board in terms of diving boards. But eventually the Fairless Hills Pool was turned over to the county, and they took down the diving boards and put up a slide. But I'm not familiar with the LPRA pools. My apologies. I'm not familiar with the LPRA pools, the former Levittown Public Recreation Authority pools, and where they had diving boards or not. But when the pool was renovated, evidently Falls Township acquired it from the LPRA. I'm not quite sure how that actually occurred. Did the pool originally have diving boards, or did it have slides? And what's the transition from going from diving boards to slides?
It had a diving board. I'm not sure if it had a slide, the original Pinewood pool, if it had a slide or not. I would assume it just had a diving board. This, obviously, the current Pinewood pool has both a diving board and the slides.
Oh, I would not say I wasn't aware of the
Right.
LPRA's
Yeah.
slides. Okay.
Mr. Erickson, you're talking to the first lifeguard that was hired at that Fairless Hills Pool in 1954, and we had a high diving board and a low diving board. And I pulled enough kids out of that pool.
It's 12 feet also. In regard to muriatic acid and chlorine, are you also bidding in terms of water testing kits?
No, I believe the water testing is done by the lifeguards themselves. The kits, are just.
Oh, that's part of the contract?
It's part of the
with particular
lifeguards, right,
company?
correct. It's part of American Pool Management has to test the water.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? No? Motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we're considering authorizing advertisement of the bids for a pool slide for Pinewood Pool. Is there a motion to authorize advertisement?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. All right. Item 7 is...
Mr. Harvey,
Yes,
can I just mention one thing?
Sure.
Mr. Erickson, I just told him, the county, the health county department comes out once a month, or once a week, I'm sorry, and tests the water, tests the pool. So just
Okay, thank you. Consider purchase of John Deere Gator for the use in community park by the Park and Rec Security Department and the Public Works Department. Mr. Gray.
Yes, a quote for the purchase of a John Deere Gator has been secured by the township. It would serve two functions. In the Public Works Department, they would use it for trash pickup around the park, which would be easier to drive on the fields and transport supplies and material as well. In the Park Security Department, they would use it for patrolling the park. It would give them more access to remote locations. The cost of the Gator is $8,499.15. It would be purchased from the John Deere Company directly and is off the state list. This time, the board is asked to consider the purchase of the Gator. If the board has any additional questions, Mr. Reese from the Park and Rec Department is here, as well as Mr. Gillis from Public Works.
All right. Well, I guess the first question people are going to have is what exactly a gator is. So if you want to give it just a basic description.
It's a real fancy golf cart.
Yeah.
It's like a golf cart on steroids.
That's, something like that, yeah. With an overhead, but a more capability of carrying things and all.
Okay. It's the Hummer of golf carts, guys, basically, something like that?
That's
Okay.
correct.
But it has sort of, I guess, obviously it's a little bit more in terms of, I won't say off-roading, but it can handle rougher terrain that a golf cart can.
Absolutely, yes. And it'll be less wear and tear on the grounds too, because
Okay. Now,
John
this
has
is-
to go out and pick up the trash and all.
This is going to be a 4x4 or a 6, a
I think
6-wheel?
4x4, isn't it, right, Mr. Gray?
It says 4x4 on here,
I believe
but,
it's a 4x4.
and it's gas, not diesel.
Yes, not
Yes.
diesel, yes.
Okay. Is there a diesel version available on the state bid list, or?
I believe all we looked at was a gas and an electric motored engine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Vislowski?
No, but if we buy it for you, you have to let me drive it.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, you shared the other evening when I sat in on the Shade Tree Commission, you shared, Mr. Gillis, a couple of reasons why you thought this was much more useful than the vehicles you've been driving now, and I hope you'd share that with us now.
Surely. The truck I drive for Parks and Rec was far from the biggest thing we have. It's a considerable sized vehicle. It takes up the entire walking path. Now, it's not so bad when the ground is hard. I can move over for pedestrians, let them pass me. When the ground is soft, the tires sink, I turf it up, and we get complaints about tire turfing. Recently, with the snow we've had, we plow a path that is just wide enough for me to get that truck through. And when people come walking, I can't drive my truck over a pile of snow this high, and they can't walk through the snow that high. I'll have it's a smaller vehicle, they'll be able to pass more safely. As far as I have to go out into the soccer fields to collect the trash there. There's sometimes, like today, there's no way I'd get that truck out there today. The fields are soaking wet. I stand a better chance of getting it with this that has tires built for that purpose. What else was there that was on my mind besides air?
I guess it would be lower impact on the field with
Much
this
lower
than a
impact
truck,
on
too.
the field. And somebody once asked me, isn't there another way for me to collect the trash on the path? And my response was, until I learn to make the trash cans come to me, I have to go to them.
Okay. All right.
That's all.
All right, Mr. Dents?
No, that's it.
Okay. No, I don't have any comments or questions either. All right, any public comment? I see no hands. Okay, so we're looking at consider purchasing a John Deere Gator for use by both the Park and Rec security and the Public Works Department for the maintenance of our Township Park. The cost would be $8,499.15. Is there a motion at this time?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Public
Yes.
comment?
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr.
Gonna share that joke with
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, but I believe there's a question that we did not have public comment, is that correct?
Public comment?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you for your time this evening, Mr. Reese.
In
And
case you were
I know
curious, I just said to Bill, I said, since I'm on the rolls, it's a good time for me to ask for a raise.
You're leaving, and I brought a real good joke that I'm going to tell tonight.
All right. Okay. Item number 8 on our agenda is consider selection of an electrical contractor for traffic signal maintenance. Mr. Gray.
Yes, thank you. A proposal for traffic signal maintenance has been secured from Armour and Sons Electric. Armour and Sons does traffic signal maintenance for many municipalities in the county. At this time, the board is asked to consider Armour and Sons Electric for traffic signal maintenance for the township.
Okay. All right. And traffic signal maintenance is something, obviously, our public works crews do a tremendous amount, but there are certain things they'd rather not do themselves. And this is one of these things where this is, again, a Falls Township business that has the necessary PennDOT certifications and has done work in the past. A lot of our traffic light upgrades that we've done, preemption and other battery backups and new signals we've put in have been done by Armour Electric. So we have a pretty good record with them in terms of their reputation and their work for the township. And this would be sort of an agreement when we needed them. We could call on them to do some work that our public works crews just don't feel like they should be doing. Comments or questions regarding this matter, Mr. Zupka?
Now, is this going to be on contract per job, or like a yearly flat flat fee?
We could do that, yes. Right now, we have a current company called Precision Electric. They are a current company for the traffic signal maintenance, but if we consider Armor, we'd probably want to change it on a yearly basis, or at least renew them on a yearly basis.
But as-
What will we save?
I believe the rates are comparable, both companies, but Armor is located within Falls Township.
Did you have any other comments or questions, Mr. Zupka?
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, okay, all right. Mrs. Kozlowski, comments or questions? No? Mr. Snipes?
Mr. Gray, I assume you've gotten recommendations for Armor and Sons, and
Yeah, I spoke
work?
with Joe Arneo from our Public Works Department. He's fine with it as well.
he knows their work, or we know of their work?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
The only thing I'm going to say is I believe they do traffic work for every county, every township in the county. Is that correct?
They do quite a few municipalities in the county. There's a list on the last page of their proposal. So they do quite a few.
I have nothing else.
Okay, yeah, and I don't have any issues or questions either. Comments or questions from the public? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to approve and how to word this exactly?
Mr. Chairman, if I could interrupt.
Consider the agreement with the Armor and Sons Electric for traffic signal.
The board may want to also consider canceling the agreement with Precision Electric as well.
Okay, all right. If we approve this, we'll cancel the one with the Precision Electric, or would it be already sort of deemed canceled because of the approval of this?
It's probably best if you approve this to then take a vote to instruct Mr. Gray to invoke the 30-day notice in the Precision agreement.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so we're looking for a motion again to accept the proposal for traffic signal maintenance from Armor and Sons Electric.
So moved.
Okay, is a motion made? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, and now I guess we'll have a motion to authorize the manager to notify Precision Electric of our intention to cancel the agreement we have with them. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move that we instruct the manager to send a letter to them and advise them that we're invoking the 30 days.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, item number 9 is consider authorizing advertisement of amendment to the Township Code establishing 401 retirement accounts. Mr. Gray.
Yes, at this time, the board is asked to, again, consider authorizing advertisement. This is to amend the Township Code establishing a 401 program, identifying ICMA as the current administrator of the pension plan for the non-uniform employees, and PMRS as the administrator for the public works plans.
Okay, so we're essentially just changing where the money for the retirement fund is being placed. Is that correct?
Yes, we don't have anything in the code that identifies a 401 administrator, but with this will set it up in our books.
Okay, and this was something that was worked out in agreement with the labor unions?
Yes.
Okay, and they're in favor of this?
Public Works, yes.
Okay, for Public Works, okay. All right, and this is, again, just advertising this ordinance amendment. So comments or questions? Mr. Zupka?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay, and I have none. Is there any public comment needed? See no hands. All right. Okay, is there a motion then to authorize advertisement of the amendment to the Township Code establishing 401 retirement account?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right. Item 10 on our agenda is to consider disability retirement of Lieutenant Wayne Cloud from our police department. Mr. Gray.
Yes, Lieutenant Cloud has applied for a disability retirement. This has gone through the pension committee. This has been approved by the pension committee, and they are recommending to the Board of Supervisors to consider this option.
Okay.
Did you refer to him as William?
I said Lieutenant Wayne Cloud.
Wynn?
Yes. Yeah. All right, just, we'll have some, I guess, if necessary, board comment, public comment, but obviously just want to ask people to keep in mind this is obviously a personnel issue. This is also an issue that deals with the health of an employee of Falls Township, and so there obviously are considerable restrictions on what can be talked about. We can have an executive session if the board so wishes to discuss this in any depth. Is there any desire for that?
I have no need for an executive session, and I'm prepared to approve it.
Okay. Any other?
No.
Need? Okay. All right. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of discussion we can have, I guess, on the issue. I don't know if there's any, or if not, I'm a little reluctant to have public comment, but if there's any, no, see no hands. Okay. Oh, we have one public comment. I think I know what it's going to be, but we'll open up for public comment anyway. Is there a motion to open public comment?
I'll make a motion to open public comment.
All right. Is there a second? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Personnel should not be discussed publicly.
I've only been in your township 11 years, and before that I lived in Langhorne for 26. And this is one gentleman, one officer that I heard, the only officer that I ever heard his name mentioned about Falls Township. And I can still remember the Roy Rogers. I used to go in there and eat sometimes. Lovely manager that was murdered, and he stayed on it until he resolved that murder. I think that was him, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not mistaken. It was Win Cloud
There's a few
and
officers, yeah.
Detective Sergeant Nelson Whitney, who went to the VDOC Society in Philadelphia and got those experts who were retired FBI agents, et cetera, et cetera. The case had been a cold case for 15 years.
That's correct.
Until they got on it, and kudos should go to both those men.
That's correct. And I say if this man has a disability, let him out. He did a good service. I would just hope we remember our people that serves our township, and we do the same for them if they need it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there any other public comment needed? I see no hands. Or a motion to close public comment?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Gray, I think you were going to ask for this disability retirement to be effective tomorrow. Is that true? Or
March 3rd, yes, tomorrow.
March 3rd. All right. So any motion to consider disability retirement of Lieutenant Wincloud should be made effective March 3rd, 2010.
Mr. Gray, I thought he was going to stay until May. Did he change his mind, or did I have the wrong information?
He's supposed to retire in late March.
March 31st is the last day that he's eligible for the drop program, but his disability retirement would start tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. So is there a motion then to consider disability retirement or grant disability retirement for Lieutenant Wincloud effective March 3rd, 2010?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen, can you pull the board, please?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoll?
Absolutely.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Vance?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, we're going to, up to item 11 on our agenda, we're going to take a, just a 5-minute break and then come back. We'll bring our meeting back to order at approximately 9:07 p.m. We are up to public comment. And we have several names on the list. Roland Kinney?
Good evening, Roland County, Falls Township. Recently, there've been a lot of great deal of news concerning public criticism, unhappiness, and almost total distrust of our representatives' performance at every level of government. In many cases, it may be well deserved. I just want to take a moment to say something positive about a representative that I know. I find that our state representative, John Galloway's performance is always in the public interest and not self-interest. My experience with his office has always been a positive response to any reasonable request. I especially appreciate his effort to attain the $25,000 grant for our kids' ball field. He's a good man. I hope we keep him in office till the day he retires. Next, some of you may know that I volunteered down Penn Manor, and we're going to lose a lady that's been in Penn Manor for 30 years, Ann Clemens. She retires the end of this month. She finally listened to her husband and stepping down to go on trips with him. On the 14th of this month, we have Charter Day from 1 to 4. It's free. Bring your family, come out from 1 to 4, visit. We're opening up our new exhibit there, where we're bringing the stuff that we gave to Harrisburg years and years ago. We're bringing it back down there. And from 1 to 4, everybody's welcome to go there. And I just ask, if you get time, try to stop and see Ann Clemens. I think I said Pemberton, Ann Clemens. And tell her she did a well job. I know her staff's going to miss her. The volunteers is going to miss her. Probably over 1 million people that she met along the way in 30 years from different countries, from all over the world. She's a fantastic person, and I'm sure going to miss her. And I'm going to stop before I bawl, because this woman is a fantastic woman, and I just want to say goodbye to her in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Guido Mariani.
Guido Mariani, Falls Township. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said that it wants to hear from the public prior to giving Falls a permit to proceed with this boat ramp project. Now, their decision to issue a permit will be based on several factors, including conservation, aesthetics, environmental concern, cultural values, flood hazards, fish and wildlife, and safety. Now, Mr. Harvey, and I'm going to quote what you said, that most of the opposition has more to do with how Falls spends its money and an individual's preference to pursue other projects. Well, that is me. And he adds that most of the comments that he has received have been positive. But today, I've only seen 2 people come to this meeting in support of this project, and both of them were from New Jersey boat clubs. And their claim was that the accesses to the river were too expensive. And, the Chamonix is only $10, Morrisville is free. And my argument with this is that government, especially my government right here in Falls Township, should not be in the business of providing amusement centers for specific interests like boat clubs with taxpayer money. And this is taxpayer money that's going to be used. Now, with boat access in Ben Salem, the Chamonix State Park, Yardley, Morrisville, Northeast Philadelphia, several in New Jersey, and the Bristol waterfront project that's coming up with floating docks for 30 small boats, another dock for larger boats, do we really need a boat ramp here in Falls Township? I say no. Now, the reason why, and I'm going to repeat this, and I said it before, but they say if you repeat something 17 times, you finally get it. The reason why so many municipalities are finding themselves, especially today, in the economic distress that they're in, is because they've obligated themselves, they've obligated their municipalities to projects and the subsequent cost that comes to maintain them. And again, my concern with this project is that they become a permanent part of your budget. Any project you put on becomes part of your budget in the forthcoming years. Each one of them will represent a tax increase when the initial funding that paid for the sources is gone. There's no doubt about that. So we're looking for tax increases with these kind of projects, I think. This project is unnecessary, it's unwanted. They're more judicious use for that money, investing in geothermal heating and cooling for this building, or accumulating it in a fund into an income-producing fund that would provide annual dividends for our residents, I think is a better use. Those are the kind of uses that conserve and produce wealth. They don't consume wealth like this kind. Now, for those, if you're for the project, or if you're opposed to this project, you can write, I'm just going to give the address.
That's fine.
To District Engineer, United States Army Corps of Engineers, Philadelphia District, Wanamaker Building 100, Penn Square East, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19107. So you got to get it in by March, whether you're for it or against it. My letter's going in. I am absolutely opposed to a boat ramp.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Gallus Obert.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Real quickly, I think the cost of the boat ramp is 1.2 million.
It was about 1.1 or so, yeah.
1.2 million for the boat ramp. And we've spent how much money for the dog park? And so much money for the skateboard park. And we got a ramp at the lake at the park. And I don't know what else we got going on here, but the boat ramp, and Mr. Mariani picked up a little bit on there on some of the stuff that I've said in the past, is I haven't seen the plans since the last time, and that's been 3 or 4 months ago, but lights, there was a lot of lights in the parking lot. Well, if the park closes and you put the gate across at sundown, why would you need lights for bringing the boats out of the water? Because you can't get your truck out of the park, unless you, of course, you cut the fence or cut the chain. And Ramp Master's shack, are we going to employ an employee and pay benefits and so forth for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week? I don't think so. I don't think that should happen. Okay? I just have a problem with the boat ramp and its location. And I'm still wondering what happened to the borings I think they talked about for the wildlife that was where they're going to dredge, whether it's going to disturb it. I haven't seen anything of that. So lo and behold, I read in the paper we're going to have a public hearing, as Mr. Mariani said, down in Philadelphia. Gee, that's nice. You think there's anybody in Falls Township is going to travel to Philadelphia and go to City Hall? I did. I have been there. And the next thing I know, they changed engineers. I don't know what happened, but they changed engineers and never heard another word from them. So I just have a problem with the hearing being in Philadelphia. I think it'll be up here in Falls Township. Okay, it's easier to move one engineer from the engineering, Army Corps of Engineers, and move them up here. You have to go down there sometime. They got a maze and a half of offices and small offices and big offices and so forth. So it's really interesting. Then you have to put it in writing. If you have to put it in writing, why do you want to go to a hearing? Because they're going to read what you wrote and that's all that's going to happen. You might as well forget about it. It's a done deal. Okay? Look at all the boat ramps up and down the Delaware River. They all go right out into the river, but falls. That river is, I think, 1,000 foot wide right there, and they're worrying about boats, big boats. We don't have that many big boats up there. When I was on the river at Florence Island, or Money Island, I had a 5-horse outboard and a galvanized iron 16-footer. I was the fastest boat on the river. except for a guy that had a boat with 6 oars, and he could beat my 5-horse outboard, I think. But I really think that we're throwing bad money away again. Next issue. How's the sidewalks coming on New Falls Road? How much money have we spent on that one? The other day in the snowstorm, I watched Pennsbury clear the sidewalk off, and every kid that went to pick up his car, he walked in the road, Hood Boulevard. He didn't use the sidewalk. Why have sidewalks? New Falls Road was not designed for sidewalks. It was a business, just like people want waivers. Oh, well, this is a business area. This is cozy. This is somewhere. We don't need sidewalks, and they get away with it. Now you want to put sidewalks in there again. Come on, people. Start using some smarts. I think that's all. I've got enough to set you guys off on that, that's for sure. Thank you very much. And for the people that watch this meeting, don't forget to come to the school board meetings. That's where your taxes are going up, not here. We got, what, $31 million in the coffers, in the gold chest, Mr.
More than that.
Long-term restricted savings account is between $38 and $40 million.
38 to 40.
And we can't get a grant because we got too much money saved?
Right.
Oh, boy, would I like to have some of that stimulus money, too. That's for darn sure. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, please get involved with the school board. That's where your money is. And if you think it's bad now, you wait until 2012 and 13, and you're going to see an awful lot of houses go up for sale.
Mr. Obert, I heard you, and I went to my first school board meeting in years, and I found it very interesting, and I'm going to be a regular visitor there. Very interesting.
Well, it's always good to see you there, see everybody there, but most of the people, when I went, up until about 3 months ago, were maybe 6 residents, max. The last time I counted was 118, 6 residents and 112 teachers.
Well, you know, I got a lot of scurrilous literature about a fellow named Campbell at my house in Lower Makefield. He was running for the school board, and I got to see him for the first time. And I can only conclude that they must be deathly afraid of him because he had to have been lied about. And I think it was the Democratic Club out there, the same Democratic kind of club that's been attacking me for 45 years. And it hasn't made a dent in me. I'm going to live to be 130, and I'll see them all buried before I die. But I'll be back. I thank you for coaxing me to go. And after reading all that junk about Mr. Campbell, I was afraid to stand close to him. I was afraid I'd have to take a stray bullet because he's so controversial and I'm so peace-loving. So I can tell you that I'll be at those meetings and I'll be listening because he's the only one on that board that made any sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Right. Liz Reese.
Yes, Liz Reese and Debbie Martyr. We're from the Three Arches, as you all know. We are here tonight to announce that this year there will not be a tea party. We're disappointed in that. We love it. We were so successful in these past 6 years, but we have something much bigger to plan ahead. Three Arches will be turning 300 years old in the year 2012. We as a committee have voted and decided to put all our efforts, both financially and our energy, into planning a big 300-year celebration for Three Arches. One of the things that we feel is this won't happen again until the year 2112. I don't think any of us will be here. And the last time it would have occurred would have been 1912, and probably a few not here, but maybe some people in the community were here. So we feel like it's a really unique opportunity to do this. We want to include family members of the original family, the Sacher family. We want to include caretakers, people who have put any volunteerism, anything, and recognize them through the years. We're going to walk you through the years of Three Arches. We will be having a meeting in September. If anyone would like to join our committee, you can call us at 215-547-7823 to join. And we will be back to ask for your support. Thank you.
Mrs. Reese.
Thank you.
The last time they did a community recognition of Three Arches, somehow the name Wisławski was mysteriously evaporated from all of that. Inasmuch as that building stands there because of my family, we sued for it. We acquired it for the community. I was on the Board of Supervisors in the 1970s when we put a new roof on it to support it. And I wish to be part of that celebration. So keep that in mind. Even if I'm living in Florida, I will come back for that.
That'd be great, thank you. We also have invited Ann Sacher Porterfield, who is a family member of the original family, and Jonathan's the other part of that family. But she wants to be an active part of the committee also, in that she has a lot of connections with other family members. She has done a drastic search of all her genealogy, and she's going to help us to make contact with all these families through. I know there's some in North Carolina, California. We've been so fortunate to be able to meet a lot of these people, and we were really hoping that we'll be able to bring them together. And I guess I will like to get something in the newspaper soon, but if anybody is listening, you know, and they do have some connections, to please get that to us so we can start to make plans. It's going to take us these next 2 years to put this together, but our plan is to walk everybody in the community through the last 300 years up to the present day.
Please call Chris Minnow, because he barreled out of here at 8:42 tonight. You know, he's not interested.
Yes, it would be nice to get a nice article in there and
Good.
get people,
And
so.
I'm going to give you an email that can be used just to keep me in the loop for Three Arches. I will create a special email, because I wish to be part of that.
Okay. So, and that's what we have, but thank you, and we, you know, it's nothing that we did wrong, nothing that the people with the Tea Party, they loved it, but it's time to put, this is going to take so much of our energy that we feel, and financial, that we need to just hold off on that for, until this is over.
Did you notice that Joan Ori Melvin, who was elected to the Supreme Court, attended our Three Arches last year?
Yes, I know.
She invited me to the inauguration. I didn't go because I've been there, done that.
Yes.
But it was lovely to be remembered, and she was pleased because she took Falls Township like Sherman's march through Atlanta, and she's a Republican.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, ladies, and for your efforts. Okay, Dorothy Wisławski.
Well, if I'd have known I was up next, I could have saved some of that for my 5 minutes. I want to ask this gentleman in the second row there, are you Simon Campbell? Yes. Well, it's proof that I don't know you, sir, and I hope you enjoyed me not wanting to take a stray bullet from you and my spoof that I'm not controversial, because if there's anybody that teachers union hates as much as they hate you, it's me. And I don't think they like the fact that I came to a school board meeting and asked for support for a zero tax increase. So I want to tell the public, this is your chance to take your school district back for the children and for the taxpayers. There are 4 seats coming up next year, and that is going to be control of the school board. Now, there are some statistics that I brought tonight, if I can find, yes, here. We had 22,976 registered voters in Falls Township. Last primary, 19,239 did not vote. Only 3,737 in the primary election now voted. And that is shameful, because government falls into the wrong hands and have the wrong people making the rules by which we have to live. Now, control of the Pennsbury School Board is going to be vital in next year's elections. And I intend to meet you, Mr. Campbell, if you're not afraid of taking one of my stray bullets, And I would like to find out why they hate you so bad. I haven't been abreast of the things except what Mr. Obert says here at the meetings. And I apologize for my tardiness, but you can expect to hear from me. Now, there's also a letter to the editor that I want to address, and it suggested that I might not be a patriot because there's a shredded flag flying in front of my home in Fosington. And that's a shame, because I called the fellow, and he was very nice, and I thanked him for writing that letter. And I said, it would have been nice if you had knocked on my door and told me, or even cussed me out over that flag, because I'll tell you why it's still flying. It was vandalized when my cars were scratched, when the bullet came through my picture window. The halyard was cut. I can't use those ropes to lower that flag, and it's the tallest flagpole that I know of. It's at least the tallest one in Fosington. The halyard was cut, and I'm 80 years older. I'd have climbed that doggone flagpole and I'd have cut it down myself. But I don't think that's a good idea, and especially since I have a new interest now, Pennsbury. And I will be responsible for informing the people in Falls Township if they get registered to vote. If I don't see an improvement in these numbers, and I don't see some kind of action this year, then forget it, because I've already bought a double-wide home in Florida, 2 doors from my sister, and I sold the original one. So I'm headed for Florida, but I'll fight one more fight if the people care about their children and about their school tax dollars. Then I'm not making a hard and fast commitment because there are conditions to it. If the people aren't sufficiently interested, then they can watch their own school district, because they're about to go bankrupt over there. If you added all the IQs together of those school board members, with the exception of 3 people, you wouldn't get my weight. And that's what I think of how they handle that school district and how they spend our money. Now, as far as Homeland Security is concerned, about a month ago, I read an email from my son who was quite concerned about Homeland Security, and he quoted the foremost advocate for protecting your homeland. He's an Israeli, and he's an expert on the subject, and I've double-checked his credentials. And I was mocked by Mr. Clark and Mr. Harvey after the meeting in the hallway, because they said, he's a phony, he's this and he's that. I found out that he's anything but a phony. So tonight I want to have the last laugh. I brought a Norman Schwarzkopf thing that a taxpayer sent to me, and he's one of my heroes. And this is very brief, Mr. Harvey, and I intend to say it. In a recent interview, General Norman Schwarzkopf was asked if he thought there was room for forgiveness for the people who have harbored and abetted those terrorists who perpetrated the 9/11 attacks. Schwarzkopf paused for a moment, and then he answered, I believe that forgiving them is God's function. Our job is to arrange the meeting with God, and that I loved. And this Israeli is not a phony. He is an absolute wonder, and you'll hear more about him in the Wisławski newsletter, too.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you. Okay, Ray Erickson? Okay. All right, Mr. Erickson stated he asked all his questions. All right, those are the names on, we have one name on the non-resident sign-in sheet. Are there any other residents that wish to speak? Mr. Dell?
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. Sorry I'm late to the meeting, but I didn't have time to get here in time. I talked to Mr. Fleischman earlier this evening. He said that my understanding is he needs a traffic study for his Samex building.
Yeah, the majority of the board felt that a traffic study was necessary. The majority of the board voted to table that issue earlier this evening to the next meeting in 2 weeks.
I guess my question is there are people down there that have recently done a traffic study, correct? I mean, I vaguely remember
I'm not
last year there had to be a couple of businesses down there, because I remember Tyburn Road running over those rubber strips with the boxes on the side of the road. I mean, there's said to be a couple of businesses down there that have recently done a traffic study. Is there any need to do?
I don't think so.
Is there
no.
I
some?
don't recall any traffic studies being
Yeah, the
conducted
the
down
boxes you made. I'm wondering if they had any connection to the construction work that they're doing on Tyburn Road. The PennDOT's doing. Maybe they were looking.
That
at
I don't.
traffic
I
for
don't know
that.
who they belong to, and I don't know if it
Yeah,
belonged to
but
any
it's not.
study.
They weren't done by any businesses.
Is there a certain volume of trucks that he has, or is there a certain number of trucks that you guys are concerned about? I mean, the reason I'm asking, and it's not just his business, it's many businesses in Falls Township, and many people come up to me and say, this is not a place that's conducive for businesses. They have a lot of money. I don't know why they're beating us up. It's cheaper to do work in New York or Philadelphia than it is in Falls Township. And I'm getting that repeatedly from all across the board in Falls Township. I'm not saying that we have to cut corners and waivers and all this other stuff, but yet sometimes you have to allow people to start their business up and work with them and say, listen, you can do a traffic study or whatever. Let's just get the ball rolling. Let's let you in this facility. Let's have you make some money and employ some people, and let's get rolling, because a lot of people have this misconception when someone has their own business that they have some sort of printing press of money in the back, and people can afford to sit back and wait another month or 2 months or 3 months. People don't have that kind of time. And just because, regardless of the size of the business, if it's a sole proprietorship or if the guy is employing 500 people, we have to help these people start their businesses and work through the system with them and not give anything away. But the fact is, it's a very expensive place for permitting here. I still haven't found out how we actually end up charging for our permits, because I've noticed some insane prices on some of the building permits we get, and I still really haven't gotten any solid answers on how we're performing.
I have a couple things. I appreciate your concern with the issue, because you weren't here, so I'll just let you know. There were 9 waivers they were requesting for this property. The board, for the most part, was fine with 8 of them, and the one that was certainly a problem for most of the board members was the traffic study.
What does a traffic study entail? Not to interrupt you.
Traffic study takes a look at the amount of volume of traffic that's going in and out of the building to make sure that the road that's in front of it, the parking areas, everything else around the building is suitable for the level of traffic it's going to be receiving, whether it's employees coming to and from, if it's shipments of products, if it's visitors, if it's whatever. I
understand that, but we're dealing with the steel mill used to have 10,000 people working in it, trucks coming in and out. It's 1/10 that size now. You have waste management trucks going to the landfill down that same road. And I understand traffic study, but really, what's the point? In all honesty, what would you change if he had 1,000 trucks a day coming into that facility? What is it that Falls Township would do differently?
You'd have to have the road widened, number one. If you're going to do that, you'd have to probably even, certainly change, putting in signals. Basically, I mean, if it's that much traffic, obviously you're taking the crazy kind of example.
Yeah, I'm going the crazy sort of
that.
example, but we know that it's, maybe he's got 10, 15 trucks a week or whatever it might be. I don't know what his truck schedule is, but I'm just assuming it's not a lot of trucks or a lot of traffic and a lot of employees. So being that...
And that's one of the things a traffic study will look at.
Correct.
So that's kind of part of it too.
Yeah.
But in reference to the other issues, I've talked to Mr. Bennett, a couple times about the costs of permits and things like that. And in his experience, remember, he's been in 3 different municipalities as a zoning and code officer. Our permit fees are not really that different from surrounding municipalities. So obviously we expect people to be upset if they're having to pay to do certain work. But, and obviously they may think because they're not doing work somewhere else, they may think, well, it's so high, it's probably not higher everywhere else. But
I guess what I'm trying to get with the permits is we're charging a percentage on these jobs. I don't see how we're the general contractor of these jobs, why people have to pay a percentage of a job. If you put a gold roof on your house and it costs you $20,000 and I decide to use asphalt shingles.
Right, and it's the same roof.
It's the same roof. The inspector's coming out to look at the same product, same amount of time. Why is your permit going to be 5 times as much as my permit?
I understand.
And these are the kind of things that I don't understand, and I find it unfair when people have expensive proprietary equipment or they have expensive construction going on, why they have to pay Falls Township a percentage of their job. They should pay a fee, and no one's afraid of paying, and everybody wants to pay their fair share. But when it gets to a point where you're talking $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a permit, when we send a guy out there for a day or 2 to look at something, something is fundamentally wrong with that, regardless of how much money the people have that are starting these businesses.
Okay.
That's not just Falls Township, though, Mr. Dell. That's everywhere. You pay a percentage, just about. I mean, any kind of construction. And, you know, for roofs, like you said, there's a different fee for a roof, putting on a roof, but I know what you're saying. For commercial construction, it's even worse.
That's basically, I'm talking more commercial,
I mean,
residential.
everywhere you go, you're paying a percentage. And I think our rates are just as, or probably lower than some spots in the county and in the state.
I don't know that everybody does. I don't know even all of Falls Township's codes, but so I don't know other township codes. But I guess what I'm getting at is when you see someone come out to your building 3 or 4 times and they paid $30,000, $20,000, $30,000, and what are they really getting for this? And yeah, they have a safe building, but where's this money go? Who are we paying the $30,000 or $40,000 to, or $20,000 to? Is it going to general fund? Are we paying our inspectors that money? Like,
I'll ask Mr. Graves. I want to comment in terms of the permit fees come in for fire inspection, for building inspections. Where does the money go?
It goes into the general fund. All cash is deposited in the general fund, pays for the expenses of the inspectors, whether it's the township employees or the third-party inspectors, and pays the expenses of the township, basically, whatever it's related to the job.
We don't have fair and equitable treatment now. And Mr. Dell, you work out at U.S. Steel. I've seen
Yes.
you come here as their advocate for everything.
this is not a U.S. Steel
I
issue.
know, it's originally part of their 6.5 square miles, and you
Yes.
came late, so you missed the speech, and I'm not going to go through it again. But I'm talking about fair and equitable treatment. I am part of that zoning ordinance. When I was chairman of this board in '75, that's when we revised it, and I do not like waivers. If the little guy has to stick to what the ordinance says, the spirit and intent is something that I feel most competent to describe, because I'm the only living one who wrote that ordinance back in the '70s. All the other board members have gone to meet their maker. Now, I don't like having waivers when the little guy has to do everything that that ordinance says, and the rich and famous get preferential treatment. And U.S. Steel is high on the list of rich and famous, and I've started to speak out about it. And I want to talk about one other thing. I learned that from this Mr. Campbell, my newfound associate on the Pennsbury School Board. He made a statement at the Pennsbury School Board meeting on February the 18th, the only meeting I've attended in years, and I finally listened to Gallus Obert and decided I'd go. And he said that Falls Township gave Pennsbury schools a break on the fees when they were doing the Oxford Valley School. And forgive my memory if it's not correct. I invite you to correct me, Mr. Campbell. Did you say about $60,000 they paid for the Oxford Valley School? And yet, they go to Lower Makefield to do construction out there, and they get something like $250,000. Now, they're taking my Pennsbury tax dollars out in Makefield, and I intend to let them know what I think about that, too. I think there needs to be fair and equitable treatment. I don't like double dipping and triple dipping. I hate lawyers because they usually do a lot of the double dipping and the triple dipping. And I don't like insurance companies, so I watch them like a hawk. But most of all, I do not like that teachers' union, and they don't like me, and I wear that like a badge of honor, because I'm looking for them to pull a strike and bankrupt our school district without improving the quality of education. So I need to thank this guest tonight for waking me up. Now, whether I'm going to be around to do anything about it remains to be seen with how the taxpayers react, because I could be in Florida with my 88-year-old sister and not sit through 5 blizzards like I did this winter. Okay? That's how I feel about the waivers, Andy.
Yes, I understand that, you don't want a lot of people coming up for waivers, but there are certain situations where waivers are deemed necessary. especially-
U.S. Steel would do better to have someone, not their employee, to come out and champion their cause.
Yeah.
Because when I see you, the red flag goes up.
I'm sure that's what you think. I have no doubt about that. But this doesn't really have anything to do with them. I'm just speaking in general that if there's no sidewalks, say down in near Samex or on New Ford Mill Road, and nobody has sidewalks, they would ask for a sidewalk waiver. I foresee that as not asking for something unreasonable.
Right.
And by understanding it, everyone should originally stick to the plan, but there are some things that eventually pop up that you don't know.
Andy, do you know how often, excuse me, Phil, do you know how often they forced the little guy to do sidewalks when there were none before, but not the big guys? Pay attention. You said you haven't read our entire ordinance. I'll give you a copy. You can have it and keep it if you promise to study it. Maybe you won't be so liberal.
I'm not
Now, one more thing I wanted to add. The waiver, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The traffic thing, you hit the nail on the head. That spot there during the day, you can go down there at 6 o'clock at night, there's no cars around. But during the day, them trash trucks,
All
it's
day.
insane on that road.
All day. And I'm
Crazy.
just saying that, and I'm not saying just give him a clean pass, but I obviously wasn't here during the whole thing, but
Right.
a traffic study down there to hold up someone for another month or another 4 weeks for a traffic study
Mr.
down
Dell,
there.
That's the sidewalks, the curbs.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's neither here nor there for the same reason. We're trying to put sidewalks in places with the areas were never designed to have them.
Yes.
And we might be even creating a more of a safety issue in other parts of the township. But it was noted in some of the paperwork that the turn radiuses weren't being done right, that the equipment or the trucks, and there already were tire marks that went off into the grass, off the road. So it's one thing that should be looked at just
You mean their driveways?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have narrow driveways, but
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
and
that
for
it's...
that. But I would really like to know where in New York State, other than maybe Lebanon Valley, New York, and I don't even know if you know where that is, has lower permit fees than we do.
I
would
hear
really
a
like to-
lot
I
of
really like to know
contractors
that.
and a lot of businesses complain about, obviously they're going to complain about it, people
Right,
complain
and
about
that's-
anything.
right.
But the fact is, I've heard a huge amount, not just from one or two people, dozens of people.
Sure.
I even see them in the hallway.
Nobody really wants to pay them anymore. The way the economy is, everybody's trying to get the best bang for their buck. So yeah, they are going to complain about it. But I'm telling you, I'd really like to know where, other than maybe Lebanon Valley, New York, where in the state of New York
I'll find out
their
from you,
fees
because
are
I'm sure I'll
lower-
run into the
lower
same
than
people
ours.
again that are complaining, but I'll find out
you
where
will.
they're doing their work at. But they said North Jersey, Philadelphia, they said they've been cheaper
Jersey,
in these
I
places.
can't imagine
You gotta
North
be
Jersey
kidding me.
cheaper.
No,
Yeah.
and these guys said they worked all over.
North Jersey, you even pay in cash and don't get a receipt when you get your permit.
To Mr. Rocco. And I don't mean Jeff Rocco.
Yeah, good catch. Thank you.
All right,
All right.
that's all I had. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Okay, any other Falls resident comments? Okay, we have one name on the non-resident sign-in sheet, Simon Campbell.
Mr. Campbell, I have something that I just got 2 days ago. I would like to give it to you because it's going to mean more to you than it will to me until I learn, and I intend to study you.
I feel I've been talked about a lot tonight. Simon Campbell, Lower Makefield Township resident, also one of the Pensbury School Board of Directors, newly elected. I wanted to come down and, I'm off duty, by the way, so I don't normally attend government meetings when I'm not actually participating as an official, just because my wife would divorce me. And also, the problems that you guys have, the financial challenges, don't take this the wrong way, it's nothing compared to what we're dealing with this Pisa's bailout, the teachers' union kicking off. But I did want to talk about permit fees, and I was kind of interested to hear this, the prior discussion, actually, because one of the positions that I've done on the board, they figured out, well, where could they put me where I won't cause any trouble? And they put me in the position of liaison to Lower Makefield Township. So you might be thinking, well, why am I here? Because we do have a liaison to Falls. The reason I'm here is we have a construction project at Makefield Elementary School, which is in Lower Makefield. And as Mrs. Vislowski pointed out, Lower Makefield Township charged us $260,000. You guys charged us $60,000 to do Oxford Valley a couple of years ago. And they're about similar-sized projects, $13 million projects. So one of the first things I do is I meet with our building services manager, and I said, well, what's the deal? Why is one $200,000 more than the other? And he kind of looked at me and said, well, I don't really know. He said, Falls has always taken the view, we want a good relationship with the school district, you know, we're not really looking to profit from them. Well, that's what he told me. And I said, okay, fine. But I don't understand this issue of any municipality, whether it's Falls, and my fight right now is with Lower Makefield, profiting in permit fees. I mean, when we get an invoice for 260 grand at the school district, it's not just Lower Makefield Townships that are paying that bill. Everyone in Falls has to pay the bill. And the money, and I'm going to ask them tomorrow, because I was very interested to find out you guys just put those fees in your general fund, because I suspect they do the same at Lower Make.
Are you meeting tomorrow?
Yes.
The township?
Yeah, the supervisors, yes. Yeah, they're not as happy to see me as you guys are. But you seem happy anyway. But the reason I wanted to find out is there anyone I could talk to at Falls that could help me get an understanding historically of what happened at Oxford Valley? Was there a waiver? Was there a desire to only charge the school district costs? You know, because when I go to Lower Make, they'll say, oh, well, there must have been something special about Falls and Oxford Valley. And that's, you know, and they're trying to make out that their fees are legitimate, and we're going to have a big fight about that. Because my attitude on fees, permit fees, particularly when we're talking charging, you know, the school district, one government agency to another, my attitude is the fee should be reasonable, should be kept to a minimum, and should not exceed costs. Because if you send the school district a bill that exceeds your cost, then you're just profiting from the school district. I'm not saying you guys...
It's illegal, too.
Which what, sorry?
It is, if you exceed the cost.
Well, exactly, and I feel bad for when I hear private businesses complain about permit fees, and I'm kind of thinking, well, you guys might not have access to the same, you know, legal counsel that we have at the school district, and I've got an opinion from our solicitor that Lower Makefield supervisors might not like very much. But that's my issue. My issue is with my fight on this permit thing is with Lower Makefield. It's not you guys. I just wanted to understand, is there anything that you guys, is there a point person I could talk to find out what happened with Oxford Valley?
What we can
Peter
do
Gray, the
is,
township manager.
Yeah, so to say, leave your contact information with Mr. Gray. He can take a look back at our records. Obviously, it was several years ago for Oxford Valley. He can take a look back through the records to see what exactly, you know, the issue was. I don't remember off the top of my head. I was here at the time. I don't remember off the top of my head what, you know, the conversation we had at that moment in terms of. But I mean, I think a lot of our opinions echo what you're saying. Is that, you know, we're looking at, obviously, if the plan comes in, our professionals have to look at it. They have to review it. Our inspectors have to go out, and that's usually, you know, we're trying to cover those costs.
Absolutely.
I don't recall the verbatim discussion we had about, you know, what to charge and what not to charge. But Mr. Gray can take a look, and if you give him your contact information, he can let you know when he has that information and
Well, I appreciate the Falls Township taking the view on that project that you're not looking to gouge the school district, because I don't think that one agency should be doing that to another, because it's all taxpayer money. So I appreciate that sentiment, and I'll certainly be happy to follow up, and we'll see what Lower Makefield have to say. I'm sure they won't be smiling as much as you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, those are all the names we have. Move on to item 12 on our agenda, which is the minutes from February 16, 2010. Okay. Comments or questions regarding the minutes, Mr. Zupka?
Yes, page 5, item 8, I voted no. And it says, only Mrs. Wisłowski voted no. And I don't go through and read word for word and compare it to the actual tape, but I just look over what I have said, but I did vote no.
Okay, so you're saying that item 8 should be 3-2 vote?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Wisłowski?
I am voting no on the minutes. I think they're terrible minutes, and if I tried to correct the things that I found wrong, that I had to say, with respect to even the Moochies. You know, this board did the same thing with Bruce Camel. I stood at that podium, and I begged you for 3 months, and I told you that he was submitting bills without backup invoices and everything else, and you wouldn't do anything about it. Now, I had to do on my own, talk to the district attorney. I have accumulated a file that is shocking, and I offer you one more chance for Falls Township's Board of Supervisors to send a letter to the district attorney saying saying they are in support of an investigation of the Mucci Ponzi scheme, because that's happening. Now, there are 5 municipalities involved. Yesterday afternoon, someone came to my house, and their name is Shannon, and they had Mr. Mucci steal $4,320 from them, and not one bit of work was done at their house since July, and they're all torn up. He came in and ripped out the driveway. He left 3 inches of a manhole cover. Yeah, they can't even get in and out of their driveway, and they told me their horrible story, and I said, I will add you to this complaint. I talked with the Bureau of Consumer Protection. They advised me that the district attorney is looking into this. We have our chance to protect our people. They told me there are 5 different municipalities. I have heard from at least 5 municipalities, individuals who have heard through the grapevine that at last there's someone who's concerned enough to do something about that man. And he's talking about either going bankrupt or changing his company name, and he's just going to open up under another name. And the Ponzi scheme will go on and on. We can't let that happen. There are too many people who are losing a lot of money. So the way I managed to get you guys to fire Unitech was to set him up. And I did the same thing with Mucci. I hired him. So you can go ahead, you can read about it in the book, Mr. Harvey, but you have a chance now to do something to help the little taxpayers that are getting fleeced by a thief and a liar.
Okay. All right. Obviously, if you have information regarding wrongdoing, I've encouraged you before about somebody. Please turn it in. I myself don't know Mr. Mucci personally, so I can't.
I'm asking for board support to protect the people of Falls Township. Other municipalities are concerned. Talk to Tom Bennett.
People in other municipalities are concerned.
I beg your pardon?
People in other municipalities are concerned.
No. The other municipalities are concerned.
Well, then the district attorney, certainly, we ask.
That's okay. You did the same thing with Unitech, and they don't exist anymore.
Yes. All right. We're looking at the minutes, if we forgot at this point. Mr. Snipes, comments or questions?
No. Excellent minutes, Mrs. Pullen, once again.
Mr. Dents?
No comment.
Okay. And I have no comment. So we're looking at one correction for item 8. Mr. Zupke would like us to note a correction that the minutes vote for February 2nd minutes should be 3-2, himself and Mrs. Kozlowski voting against. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Please record my vote as no. Mr. Dents.
Yes, ma'am.
I spoke with you during our break about New Falls Road, and I neglected to bring up that topic. Do you intend to do that tonight, or do we let that go for another time?
Let that go for another time, I assume?
Okay, but if we're spending money now, we better head them off at the pass, because you're as concerned as I am over it.
Spending money on what?
On New Falls Road and the sidewalk and all the proposed improvements and the studies and all that.
No, we are done with that as far as I know.
It can be reversed. It can be halted. I think we're doing the wrong thing.
All right. Well, we can get that board comment. All right. Executive session. We don't have a need for executive session. All right. Manager comment. Mr. Gray?
Yes, just a few items tonight, Mr. Chairman. My first item concerns a land mapping and GIS service. A new GIS system is available for the board to consider. This would be a purchase from the county. Currently, the township has a system called MEA used in the Code Enforcement Department. MEA provides tax parcels, addresses, assessed value, taxes paid, and other items as well. MEA is being replaced by the county's program. The charge for this program is $2,000. This time, the board is asked to consider the purchase of the mapping system from the county for $2,000.
Okay. And I notice we have a memo here from the gentleman who does our network computer upgrades, noting that staying with the old system is going to put us in a bad situation because there's no more upgrades for that system. It's basically a dying system and through a dying software system.
Yes, the county has come up with a replacement for MEA.
Okay, all right. Okay, comments or questions from board members regarding this?
So basically, this is going to cost us $2,000 to be compatible with what the county is going to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Wisłowski?
No comment.
Mr. Snipes?
No, seems like we need to do it.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay, and I have no comments or questions. Any public comment needed? I see one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
I quit.
So moved.
Is there a second to open public comment?
Second.
You have to second it, yeah. All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
I don't know that much about surveying, but evidently you were talking about tax parcels and compatibility. But with the Landsat systems, in regard to exactly where particular tax parcels are within a computerized data bank compared to shifting of posts, what is the difference between MEA and this new particular system from the standpoint of view of computerized coordinates, and how does it actually mesh out from the standpoint of view of curvature and shifting of particular points in regard to surveillance? Or surveilling, Mr.
Well, let me just, I guess I'll make very clear. It says obviously we're not, doing any surveying or surveillance on anybody. This is obviously surveying. It does deal with issues regarding.
Mr. Sullivan, do you know about that in terms of the surveying in regard to exactly where data points are in regard to tax parcels? And the shifting nature of the coordinates in regard to latitude, longitude, and elevation? Do you know what this type of software, this new type of software will?
This software is merely for identifying owners of properties relating to tax map parcels. It's not to be used as an accurate land survey of any properties in the county.
Okay, in particular places where there are particular hills, but some of the lower lying borderlines might be mushed down if there's some type of sliding on a hill, and their land property apparently decreases where the folks at the top of the hills land increases. Are you aware of that in regard to surveilling?
That really can't happen, Mr. Erickson.
All right.
Property lines don't change whether or not the land shifts, like you're talking about landslide almost.
Well, something of the sort.
Yeah.
But how was that done from the standpoint of view of coordinates, latitude, longitude, and elevation? How are
Every property has a deed, and the deed is tied into a coordinate system sponsored or actually developed by the United States Geological Survey.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
so it's a standard coordinate system.
Yes.
All right, that
Also,
never changes.
if I can add, I think they're using, this goes by aerial photographs. This is a basic system. This isn't for actual surveying. This is just, this is this parcel, this is how big the road is, and so forth. It's not necessarily an exact.
Yeah, it's really more so if we have a project that comes in, and for example, like the project we had earlier today, and we have information regarding the tax parcel and it's the plans for it. The county also has plans for it because they look at it. The Bucks County Planning Commission looks at a plan like the one we had with Samex. If they're operating with one sort of software system, we're operating with a different software system. That doesn't work for us to coordinate our efforts. So this is just merely so we're all speaking this, or computers at least are all speaking the same language. Basically, that's all this is.
And it's more of a basic system, too.
Yeah.
There are some out there that are actually, I guess they use GPS to get their coordinates where they actually show, sewer pipes and such like that. This is basically road, curb, how far from the curb to the property line and so forth like that. It's not as technical as I think you're asking.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so is there a motion then to purchase the, I'm trying to think of the new MES,
GIS service.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to purchase the new GIS system
2000.
From the county, Bucks County.
from Bucks County. What's that?
From Bucks County.
From Bucks County for $2,000.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen, pull the board, please.
Mr. Sutcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski? Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
My next item is a request from Historic Fallsington. They are requesting a contribution for their upcoming Fallsington Day, which will be held on October 9th, 2010. They are requesting a contribution of $5,500 in past years, and what's budgeted for 2010 for the contribution is $6,000. The board is asked to consider making a contribution for Historic Fallsington.
Okay, so we budgeted 6,000. I think we've given 6,000 in the past.
Yes, we have.
But they're asking for 55.
Yes.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board
Sorry,
members?
Mr. Chairman, they're asking for how much?
5,500?
5,500.
But we budgeted 6,000.
We budgeted 6,000.
I think we should give them the 6,000.
Okay. Any comments or objections? No? All right, is there a motion then?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
I move that we make our donation now to release the funds that we had budgeted for Historic Fallsington in the amount of $6,000.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Sexton?
Yes.
Public comment.
Mrs. Slaski? Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Apologize for not doing public comment, assuming there's no public comment about the spending money on the Historic Fallsington. Okay.
My next item concerns a state of emergency in the township. On Thursday morning, February 25th, I declared a snow emergency for the township starting at 8 a.m. Thursday morning, continuing till Friday at noon, February 26th. By declaring this, the township snow trucks were able to plow all the roads in the township without cars being parked on the street. At this time, the board is asked to consider approving the action imposed by the township manager.
So moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right, motion is made and seconded to ratify the state of emergency that was declared last week. Don't imagine public comment needed? No? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
My next item is just a few announcements from the Park and Rec Department. The annual Easter egg hunt will be held Saturday, March 20th at the Falls Township Community Park Phase 1 Pavilion, starting at 1 p.m. This is an event for children ages 2 to 10 years old. The annual basketball foul shooting contest will be held Tuesday, March 23rd at the Oxford Valley Elementary School, starting at 7 p.m. Awards will be given to the top 3 finishers of each age group. This is a free event for age groups from 8 up to age 18 and above. Girls and boys will compete in separate groups. The annual breakfast with the Easter Bunny will be held Saturday, March 27th. This event will be held on the grounds of the Three Arches from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This is a free event for children ages 2 to 10 years old. That's all I have.
Okay. And obviously, the Easter Bunny will be there. Yeah, okay, that's good news. All right.
What's he going to have for breakfast?
Even the economy can't slow down the Easter Bunny. That's, yeah.
Carrots.
All right, carrots. From Snipes Farm, probably, maybe, you know?
Organic all the way.
All right. Okay, up to board comment, our final agenda item. Mr. Dents, would you like to start?
Sure. Something just came to my mind is, I just spoke to Mr. Snipes too about the amount of recycle we have here. I mean, every meeting, it's a pile of paper that's just getting thrown out. And I wonder if there's something we could do, like, just for instance, the amount of stuff we got from Parks and Rec. Did we really need all of this stuff? I mean, because that's something we could have just passed around the night of the meeting. It's just a lot of paper, it seems like, getting thrown away, which is a shame. I mean, I guess there's some stuff that we all need, but is everything, I mean, could we consolidate that somehow? Or something we could think about working on?
Okay. I will say, and don't mean to interrupt you, I just will comment on it now. One thing that I've noticed since Mr. Gray took over as manager, that obviously you wouldn't know, I don't know if other board members picked up on it too, is that frequently if we get one copy of something, so, you know, if we get something on a Friday that's not before a meeting, in some cases in the past, we would have gotten a copy then, and we would have gotten another copy of it the week before, the next packet, so that you had it twice. Mr. Gray has cut down on that, but again, that's, I do, it usually takes a while, I wait till the pile gets, maybe, larger than my daughter, then I decide to start, cutting down the amount of paper I have at home, but, yeah, we do have some recycling here. I usually put it in recycling bins, a lot of it, if it's applicable for that. But yeah, maybe we can take a look at that and ways to sort of cut down on that. I think some things, of course, we had the issue this evening where we had a little bit of criticism about not getting all the information at once. And so it's a fine line to walk, but it's a good point. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
The only other thing I have is Mrs. Vislowski brought up the something that was in our packets was the road, or the walking path on New Falls Road. and I mentioned to her, I did say that that's something that I was not in support of. But I don't believe at this time we're spending any money on that. Is that correct?
I think we had just the concept was done. I think the surveying had to be
Other
done
than
to
that, that's
see.
it, right, yeah.
Right. We haven't decided on that point. And I know that was one of the decisions we had to make, was we wanted to find out the information first. You know, what would it cost? Could it be done? How could it be done? What are the options? And obviously, I've heard from people who think we should have it because they know that people walk on that street, and you know, people are going to walk on it almost no matter what we do. My opinion almost is if we're not going to put a walking path in, we have to put something in to discourage people from walking on it. But leaving it as is, there are already people walking on it from between St. Joseph Worker Church and all the way up to almost to the high school, where there really isn't a safe place. Either we make it safer or we make it so that they can't walk on it. But I think we have to do something. We can't leave it as is. That's my feeling. But we have to take some time and look at the plans. We haven't decided to build anything.
Okay. So we're not spending money on that right now.
At this point, no. The study has been done, and so we're just sort of waiting at this point to take a look at the study and see if there's anything we can take out of it in terms of where we go from here. But I think it was a necessary first step just to see what the facts were at the time. Yeah.
All right. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Zupko?
Thank you. Actually, today, I had the opportunity to, on our township website, look at photographs. Some of the photographs are posted in here, which I've looked at, but I looked at it on the website. So the photographs we have here, plus a lot of other photographs, are there. And my father-in-law is 91 years old. And I was showing them to him this afternoon, and you could see his eyes light up because he did come down here for a job with the steel mill, and he's one of the originals. And I would recommend that any of the, I don't want to say old-timers, but we'll say any of the originals that are here, if you have access to a computer, go to our website, and it'll bring back a lot of memories to you, and hopefully all good memories. But I saw it in my father-in-law's eyes, and even my wife's eyes, because she remembers when Blau Court was a dirt road and dirt driveways over there. Hopefully. Hopefully, what's his name, Bolaris and the bow tie, Hurricane Schwartz. They were a little off the mark there on Friday, and hopefully it'll kind of calm down here for the rest of the time, because our public works people really have gotten the work out, especially in February, and as usual they've done a great job at it, and I think quite a few, or I'll say the majority of our residents cooperate with them to help keep everything clear. I know some of the residents actually went out and shoveled out some of the fire hydrants. Some of them went and shoveled out the handicap portions of the curbs at intersections. So everybody's trying to do their piece. But I know well, because I live right behind the building here, and I hear the beepers going off 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, as they're loading up with salt to get out on the road. These guys put in a lot of time, and the residents really do appreciate it, and the hard work they've put in. And really, that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just one thing. You started out the meeting this evening. We started out by honoring a member of the community who had been volunteering for 50 years. That was a very positive way to start. I want to thank you for initiating that, and thanks to those who worked, and of course thanks to the gentleman who gave his service for 50 years. Unfortunately, we had a lot of negativity during the rest of the meeting, so that was too bad. But coming down to the end, I'd like to speak a little bit about some other volunteers that we've had working in the township. I had a chance to sit in on one of the meetings of the Shade Tree Commission. And the ladies that are working on the Shade Tree Commission are doing a fantastic job. They truly are. I think, Mr. Gray, if you could help me out, I think, was it 70 trees were planted last year? 50, 70? How many was it?
I think it was between 70 and 80 trees.
And this year, we hope to plant a similar.
Yeah, this spring we
number.
are anticipating about 70 trees just in the spring alone.
So, meeting with the members of the Shade Tree Commission, also Mr. Gillis, who was here this evening from Public Works, has also been taking a particular interest in the trees and watering them. Matt Markey, who really runs our website, was here as well, talking about additions to the website that will allow members of the township to be able to go to the website and see what the Shade Tree Commission is doing. They're going to be adding a section specifically for the Shade Tree Commission and also letting people see exactly where trees are being planted and what kinds of trees are being planted. So I thought it was a great example of people in the community volunteering from a place of real positivity to actually help the community. So I wanted to personally thank the 3 people serving on the Shade Tree Commission. Do you have their names right in front of you, Peter Gray?
Yes, it's Joanne Cosgrove, Lois Glasscott, and Jenny Picardo.
And also to members of Public Works that have been helping them, to Matt Markey, and also to Peter Gray. They're doing a great job. And we're hopefully going to be able to plant a lot more trees this year. And if people want to have input on where they think trees should go, they ought to be contacting the township. Or if they have ideas where we can get more trees, they ought to be letting us know, because the more the merrier in this township. The state has set out a recommendation that 40% tree cover for a township such as ours is a great idea. We have about 20%. So if we doubled the tree cover we have, it would be a truly awesome thing for our community. So I wanted to thank them. Thank you, Mr. Gray, for keeping that work going, and I hope to attend some meetings in the future as well. So thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes, I want to thank Mr. Dents because I forgot to mention New Falls Road, and I was glad you clarified that issue. And I just think that our road department did a superb job in clearing up these 5 blizzards, if my count is accurate. And this is the winter I should have been in Florida, but I'm fixing to go down there just as soon as this gimpy leg of mine heals now. And there are a number of things. I am going to pursue the Moochie matter because I think that it is incredibly important for us to get behind Tom Bennett and our code enforcement department. They do an excellent job, and Mr. Bennett is terribly frustrated with Moochie because I came in, I got certain documents from the Moochie file, and I talked to Tom Bennett about his frustrations. And the big problem is when you go into the court, they cite these offenders, and Moochie is the worst of the worst, and then the court doesn't have a chance to serve them because they hide from constables even when the plaintiff pays extra to have constable service. You can't find them. Now, I'll be glad to find them, but I don't interfere in Jan's court. Never have, don't intend to. But the alternative is not to sue civilly. You go after them in Title 42, the Crimes Code, and that way you can put them out of business or straighten them out. But ever since David Kerr was our zoning officer, I have been watching this group operate, and it's really Jimmy Moochie, and I'm afraid he's corrupting his son, Brian. Brian and I talked last night, and I said, Brian, I'm telling you right now, I'm going after you criminally, and I've got the evidence, and you know I have. And what I was hoping for was that this township would also get behind this, because it's pretty bad when only one board member has to carry the cross for all of the people who have had their money stolen, their properties ruined, the jobs incompleted, and these people just continue to go on and get away with it. Now, Trentonian was going to write about the Ponzi scheme that Jimmy Moochie is operating. And I can tell you it's a Ponzi scheme. He knows how to go and get money from someone. The Shannons who were at my house yesterday said we paid him, and then he came to us and said somebody's check bounced and he needed more money. And he said, like a fool, I gave him more money. Then he came and got more money because we decided to do sidewalks. And he said the total was $4,320, and we haven't had anything done at our property except it was ripped up, and it's not navigable now. And they have a son who's a special needs son. And I think that's an outrage, and I think it's our responsibility as board members to clean these guys out. And I'm going to do it alone if I have to. So, since the board doesn't appear interested in the little taxpayer, and we roll out the red carpet for all the big guys that come in here to get everything for nothing, I'll handle this one.
Okay. All right, and we would encourage anyone who has had those kind of situations to contact the Code Enforcement Department, Mr. Bennett, so that he can do what he can. That's really the role for this government in that sense, is to document as much of those cases as we can through our Code Enforcement Department.
They're frustrated, Mr. Harvey. Go talk to Tom Bennett.
I have.
He'll tell you.
I've talked to Mr. Bennett.
And you're not willing to support him in shutting this operation down?
Lasky, I'm willing to support him as he can do anything he wants. He has the green light from me to take him to court if he wants to. That's fine. I've never stood in his way. I think Mr. Bennett knows I'd support him.
No, he
matter what he
doesn't.
does. Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't. And you have a responsibility beyond supporting code enforcement. We have to act as a municipality to protect our taxpayers
do that
from
through-
thieves and liars.
We do that through code enforcement, to document what they're doing and to bring them up on charges. Okay.
Heaven
A
help.
couple of things I want to discuss. Issue earlier was brought up about the boat ramp. It was interesting, the comment being made by Mr. Mariani about not hearing anybody at these meetings except for two people to speak out in favor of the boat ramp. And it's funny because I just talked to someone last evening. I was at an event at Pennsbury High School, and I had a gentleman come up to me who lives in Falls and actually doesn't even own a boat, who said that he wanted to know how he could go about supporting the boat ramp. He wanted to know, if it was something that, would it help if I came out in favor of it? He said, if we get a boat ramp in Falls, I might actually go out and get a boat, because he was very much in favor of it and felt like it was something we should do. And a lot of people have come up to me at different times to ask me, when's that boat ramp going in? Are we still building it? Are we still doing it? When's it going to happen? What's the holdup? And unfortunately, we said this when we started the process. I wasn't even chairman, I think, when the process started, that when you do deal with the river, when you deal with the Army Corps of Engineers, things move at a much different pace than you would like them to. And that, unfortunately, has been the case. Some comments about the site of the hearing and the way the Army Corps does things. We have no control over how the Army Corps operates. Certainly, if we did, we would have asked them to move faster than they have. In terms of where they're doing the hearings, that's their decision. I don't know, Mr. Sullivan, in your experience, would it matter if we said something to them? Would they hold it here, or do they just hold it where they want to?
I thought they would only hold a public hearing if there was enough public interest.
Okay, so that's what the
Right.
letters are for. If they get enough
Right.
letters of interest, then they'll actually hold a hearing.
I don't remember seeing that it would be held in Philadelphia, but that's possible.
That's probably where they're sending the letters, and
Yes.
Mr. Ober's just assuming it's where the hearing is going to be.
Correct.
And in terms of the site for the actual boat ramp, the site is where the Army Corps has asked us to put it. It wasn't a different place. Actually, it was two other places. I think the current location is the third location we've chosen. We had one originally and changed it, and then the Army Corps asked us to change it again. So, wanted to address that. As Mr. Snipes pointed out, we had a pretty unique opportunity, like I said before, to recognize someone who put in 50 years of service to our fire companies. And I want to thank them, not only Mr. Cordetti and all the members of the Levittown Fire Company and family and friends who are here tonight, and at least one still here, but also want to thank all three fire companies here in Falls Township. Not only, the constant work they do, they don't always sort of get the attention. They are, again, volunteer firefighters. It's something not everybody realizes. They're not, this isn't, like the city of Philadelphia or big cities where the firefighters are paid. These are volunteers. They do the training on their own, the volunteering, time, nights, weekends, to go out and protect us, really, our homes, our businesses, our families, and not really sure, as I said to Mr. Cordetti when I presented him with the proclamation and the plaque that Mr. Gray put together for us very nicely. I don't think there's anything that we could have given him to really match how much we owe him. And so it's a little bit embarrassing to hand him anything, just because it's not going to match up to what we should give him. But it was something anyway that, and I think he appreciated it, and I know some of his family and friends did as well. But I also want to let people know that the 3 fire companies we have, Falls Township, Farrells Hills, and Levittown, are always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for people who can come out and give some time, who are interested. And if go to your local firehouse if you have any interest, and talk to them a little bit about how you can help out, and certainly they would appreciate it, and I think you might find yourself enjoying the opportunity to go out and help your neighbors as much as you can. But I know they could use the help, as always. Always looking for new volunteers. One thing you could never get enough of, I guess, is volunteers. And lastly, I wanted to make people aware, I think it's one of the duties we have as a local government, to make people aware of the United States Census. Later this month, around the time of our next meeting, the Census Bureau is going to be mailing out all of the questionnaires to residents. We've gotten several documents and questionnaires from the Census Bureau here at the Falls Township office building, to looking for any information we can give them, just to make sure they hit everybody they can. And so we're trying to do as much as we can. The letter I have here, I talked to someone last night from the Census Bureau. In 2000, 72% of households that received the questionnaire from the Census Bureau mailed it back. So a little less than 3/4 of the population was counted at that time. And of course, they always want to get better. The goal being 100%, but of course that's, we want to get as good as we can. The census, the effort they're making this year, and they've taken a lot of effort, and they're calling it basically Take 10 is the phrase they're using. It's 10 questions. It should take you about 10 minutes to fill out the United States, the census, and then mail it back. It's a very simple procedure, a very simple process. Obviously, it's mandated by the United States Constitution. Original Constitution, 1787, the census was mandated. And so this isn't something, obviously, that's new. But it is something that helps us here at the local level. It helps state government, federal government. It helps us get an idea of who's living in our community. It helps us so that we can identify the numbers of people we have that might have, young children, members of senior citizens, people that might be disabled. And so that gives us an idea of how we can adjust what we do here, whether it's park and rec or it's services that we can provide here, if it's issues regarding police and emergency response teams, and helping us figure out ways we can better serve the community if we really know who's living here. Obviously, it helps out in the federal level as well, to make sure that we're getting an accurate representation in Congress for where we are based on our population. So it is very important. It's been made very, very simple. And so really, you're hurting yourself, quite frankly, if you're not turning it in. It's a very, very simple procedure. They are also looking for volunteers, for people that can help to do the census and help people who might have a little bit trouble filling out the forms, and help collect it as well and send it out. And I'm going to ask, let's see if we can put maybe all this on the cable channel, but I'll read the number here. Looking for people that were interested in helping out the census over the next couple months. The phone number, toll-free phone number, 1-866-861-2010 is the phone number. And the website, www.2010censusjobs.gov is all together, 2010censusjobs.gov. And we'll have this on the cable channel, so if people are interested in finding out more information, they can go there and find that out in terms of getting that completed. And I'll bring it up again at the next meeting, and the meeting's in April as well. I'll make sure to make reference to it so that we can get everyone on board with this. And with that, we'll ask, I'm trying to see, yeah. And one last thing I did want to, sorry. The St. Patrick's Day Parade, Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade is going to be held on March 13th, Saturday, leaving at St. Joseph the Worker and going along New Falls Road all the way into Bristol Township up to Worcester Road. Great parade. Might be the biggest parade in the county. So looking forward to that. And hope everybody can come out. Hope the weather's good. And it should be a good time. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.